With the 9th pick in the 2022 NBA Draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Jeremy Sohan from Milton Keynes, England, and Baylor University.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Offensive rebound, Brown. Sohan, he will fire and knock it down. That's his second three.
The Minnesota Timberwolves select Kendall Brown from Baylor University.
See if Johnson has time. Here comes the pressure. Lets it go. It is caught. Durant Jenkins. 28-yard strike.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Empty backfield, four-man rush. And that is intercepted. It's the Marcus Lawrence. Down the sideline, he goes. And look at that. Into the end zone.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, it is a Friday. Most likely wherever you are, although we do have audience yesterday. Someone contacted us from Australia again, telling us that it makes his morning to pick us up, and so it's great to hear from you from Australia, plus other countries around the world. It's hot. It's, of course, it's 100+ every day now in Texas and perhaps where you are as well. The NBA draft is over. Long wait for Kendall Brown. Jeremy Sohan didn't have to wait long at all. We'll get into that. And then also, a college football coach late in the summer or early in the summer is going to have to retire because of health reasons. And then we want your feedback today, help today. We have the chat room. And oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's boom, 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 boom. But we also have the text line at 254-339-1122. We have votes for the Big 12 preseason poll. All of us individually can vote. But what I'm going to do is reserve an extra one based on your feedback. On the text line only, 254-339-1122. You don't even have to give us your name. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 10 in a format. 1-whoever, 2-whoever, all the way to 10-whoever. I'll compile that over the weekend. Send it. It's due on Monday.
Yeah, and so think of the team like it's just a regular team. 5 offensive linemen, a tight end, and all that.
No.
Oh,
the team. Only the teams. Only the top
team.
10
okay.
standings.
Oh, the team.
And what are you turning this in as, your vote?
No, I'll use it as part of my vote along with the mixture of the audience as well, so that they can be a part of it because I want them to be a part of it.
Okay.
Right.
I'm going to do my own, and I haven't given it much thought just yet. But, the audience out there wants to take part and have some fun with that. At least try and be serious with it. Like, don't just be the dude who wastes everybody's time. Like, let's KU at 1 and, do that. Because that's pretty obviously just petty trolling. But, let's see who you got. I think it'd be interesting to hear everybody out there, looking at the media right now. Feels like, just in general, that Oklahoma's the favorite and that Texas would be the co-favorite. And then, there's people high on Baylor, but that have told themselves, well, they lose too much. There's no way they can be that good again. And then, there's other programs that are under the radar, like TCU, I think is somebody who
Kansas State,
people, in Kansas State. Although people are treating, I don't know, there's a little blowback on saying that Kansas State could be a real threat. At least I get that sense. There's not enough, I guess, of those types of people, I think, ready to go all in on K-State. I am. I don't know if I'm ready to put them top 3, but I definitely think that they got a chance to disrupt the league with what they have returning. So, yeah, they should definitely be in the mix. And then there's question marks as far as how good will Tech be. I said in one of the podcasts that, yes, I realize it's Joey McGuire's first year, but I think that based on what they did last year and what they have returning, I said, bare minimum, they should make a bowl game. And Grayson, for one, fought back with me on that. And I'm sure there's others that don't feel like a bowl game is a necessity. I'm not the one who signed his contract. So I'm just saying, just to me, making a bowl game seems like it would be a pretty simple task. I know it's his first year, but, he's got veteran coaches. He's got basically the whole team coming back. He's got full quarterback room. There's a couple guys here and there that obviously they're going to have to replace, but it's not Matt Rule walking into Baylor in 2017. Like, not even close to that situation. So I think they can make a bowl game, but I know there's others that are like, well, no, it's year one. Like, that's too much to ask, even though they basically did it last year. Yeah, I'm curious to see kind of where everybody falls on sort of the torn opinions of some of these teams.
Yeah, and look, I think I agree with you on K-State. I think I'm going to put them up towards the top of the league, and I don't know if they're top 3, but like I don't know if I'm going to get them past 4 because I really like Chris Kleiman. I like the way he coaches, and they're bringing back Deuce Vaughn. They're going to be very fundamentally sound on defense because that's kind of what their MO is in his coaching. And I think that Adrian Martinez is a good enough athlete and a playmaker, and the kind of coaching that he will get from this staff compared to where he was at Nebraska will eliminate his mistakes. Not eliminate them, mitigate some of them.
He's a player that's going to make mistakes. But he's also one that if he could just eliminate a couple of them a game, he's a tremendous talent. Some of you have already started texting us your top 10. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. There's like 2 groups of 2. There's the traditional, let's vote them because there's those schools, the Oklahoma and UT votes that will probably be up towards, and I'm not talking about our audience, I'm talking about like the media poll. And then there's the more logical, like, hey, these 2 played for the championship last year and they got a lot coming back in Baylor and Oklahoma State. And I'm kind of curious because I think Oklahoma State's flying under the radar. I think that they're a team that's not getting nearly enough respect. I know that they lost a lot too, but, Spencer Sanders is back. And he's got some weapons back as well. So that'll be interesting. But I know they lost a lot off their defense. But still, they're a good team. So
and OU, of course, was not far away from playing for a conference championship in that game, that incredible game in Stillwater when Caleb Williams almost brought him back. So we're getting those 254-339-1122 preseason poll, Big 12, 1 through 10, 1-who, 5-who, all the way 10-who, and let us know. Now, we'll do that today. The chat room is loaded up as well, and some of you can discuss. We want you to discuss not your top 10, but maybe who you think is under the radar, vice versa, and we're getting some of that as well. Mitch Thompson, Baylor's new baseball coach, will join us live at 3:20 today. We will also hear from Grayson Grundhafer for the second time this week on recruiting in Baylor. Aaron Torres of Fox Sports Radio on many things college football and the draft, and then Mickey Spagnola at 4:30. Lanier Sampson, former Baylor wide receiver, now a part of Austin Peay. He's at Syracuse again this weekend, went down to Austin Peay. He's their wide receivers coach, promoted from Syracuse or hired from Syracuse, and the passing game coordinator. He will join us at 5 o'clock today, and Paul's got his top 5. So we'll get all that. College World Series has a day out. They'll start it up tomorrow, best of 3, Ole Miss and Oklahoma. All right, now, Jeremy Sohan. When Baylor signed their class of 2021, right?
Yeah.
Everyone thought, and most people thought, that Kendall Brown would be the highest drafted player. Obviously, there were still questions about what Matthew Meyer was going to do or whatever, but he was going to be, without question, a lottery pick. And then Jeremy Sohan would probably get somewhere late first round and could play his way up a little bit higher. Well, he damn sure did that. Number 9 overall. And to, I think, perfect fit, Popovich, Jeremy Sohan seemed like a perfect culture and type of player fit. Kendall eventually got drafted and traded to Indiana during the draft, and so good for him as well that he did get his damn name called, because I can imagine that started to get a little bit tenuous.
Yeah, I don't really remember what the draft thoughts were with Kendall and Jeremy. I don't know. I feel like Jeremy, being in Euroball and being kind of all around the world, he was looked at as somebody who had the same exact potential, if not a little bit higher. But I know Kendall, being a high school guy, being a highly rated guy, there was some thoughts. But yeah, I don't really remember what the difference was there. But I don't think it was a surprise when either one of them became one and dones, I guess, to your point. Jeremy Sohan did not have to wait long. Going to the Spurs, I think, is a great fit for them, or a great fit for him, I should say. And he seemed very happy. I think he would have been happy wherever he's picked because he just got that kind of personality. But he seemed to really be enjoying himself last night, and that fly getup that he had on, was it lavender suit that he was wearing, and it was cool to see him doing the media rounds and laughing and just loving life. And then for Kendall Brown. I think you can kind of question his decision now, given how long he had to wait. I mean, he still was drafted, but there got to be a point in there where it was long enough into the draft that you thought, okay, he could potentially go undrafted, and that would have been a disaster. I mean, he still would have signed with the team and G League and all that, but, I mean, to potentially not gotten drafted after leaving after 1 year would have been really bad. So I'm glad that he got his name called. Certainly not nearly as highly as he or probably anybody wanted him to go. And, that's the risk that you run. So he had to know that when he got in. He was there in attendance, but he wasn't like front row in the green room and all that. So he was able to, come down and take the picture and do all that, which was cool. So glad he got picked. It would have been awful to see him, not have his name called.
I was glad it could have been anybody. It would have been fine, either one of them. But I'm glad that the Sohan to Popovich and Spurs, I know they've been down, but don't you think that was a great, not just because it's 9, but a landing spot for him?
I was on in San Antonio this morning talking about Jeremy, and I said, look, I did the top 5 the other day, and I thought the best fit for him was the Spurs. Because if you think about the kind of player he plays defense at all 5 positions. He's a developing offensive player, and we'll see how that shot develops in the NBA. But he also is brilliant. I mean, if one of the things I would describe about him is he is smart in many different aspects of his life. He's just a brilliant guy. He's a unique guy. Popovich is a brilliant guy. He likes other brilliant people to be around him. They're going to mesh well. Plus, he's the right kind of a jerk on the floor where he can get under people's skin and all that. And he's just very clever and does everything. He's very world aware, which fits with Pop as well. I just thought he was the Spursiest dude in the draft, and maybe the Spursiest guy they've gotten to draft in the last few years since the dynasty ended. Since Duncan and Parker and Ginobili and all those guys were gone, they haven't really had. If you look at who's come, they've got some guys that are kind of Spurs guys in the draft, but and of course Kawhi Leonard left. But like, he is a Spurs dude. He really is. I think it's a great fit. And for Kendall Brown, the one thing I would say the silver lining is between picks about 27 and 48, it's kind of just teams grabbing at things that they like, because sometimes they'll draft somebody and stash them for 3 years, depending on what they are. So
the Spurs used to be really good at that as well. But, so
we'll
he goes to Indiana after being picked and then traded, and of course it can be confusing the way the NBA draft. They always seem like they add something a little bit later on. We talk about a guy's being interviewed about getting picked by, let's say, the Knicks, and then next thing you know, they're also reporting that he's been traded to Minnesota as well.
Next year we're going to do this, and the following year we're going to do this, and the following year we're going to do this, and I've done it like the last 5 years of you come in the day after the NBA draft and you complain about the NBA draft. But it really is ridiculous. It is the dumbest exercise to sit there and try to understand where guys are going. And I hate it as much because there's players that don't get their moment. Like if you're watching later in that draft and Kendall Brown gets drafted, and so I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for whatever team actually picked him, which I'm trying to figure out because the announcers don't even know, right away. I'm trying to just like, whose account do I need to look at to know where he got drafted and then to just hit retweet on it. And you have to wait 25 minutes for the team itself that did draft him, if not longer, for them to get the okay to then say, like, I don't even know if what team did he end up on? He ended up on
Pacers.
The Pacers, yeah. I don't even know if the Pacers even put out anything last night.
I contacted them, both 2 or 3 of their media relations guys, and I haven't even been told we can't discuss it yet or not.
Yeah, it's the night of the draft. You just picked him, but we can't say anything, and we can't introduce him, and we can't put out a logo because the trades have to go through. And I could understand if it was like a couple of them a year, but when basically the entire draft is trades, I mean, it really is. It's like every other pick's a trade, and it's involving multiple teams, and then you have to go through the T's and crossing T's and dotting I's and all that with the NBA office to make it official. I think that sucks, man. I think it sucks that the team can't just say, hey, boom, Indiana, boom, here's Kendall Brown, here's who we drafted.
Kendall Brown drafted number 48 overall in a trade with Minnesota, the Indiana Pacers select Kendall Brown.
But it's like by the time they do that, it's 30 minutes after the fact. They're already 5 picks ahead of time. Nobody knows where anybody's going. And most people at that point are already just checked out and over it. It's because it's like
they've already had somebody
yeah. It's
else
like what's the point? So I think that's so silly. I think it was John McClain or somebody explained it one time about how they have to have the clearance of the trades. But I just think, like, how do they watch that product and go, this really is the best way to do our draft, is just to have no idea where anybody's going half the time, or even be able to announce them because at the time, because we have to go through the office. I just think that's silly.
I agree. I'm interviewing you. You got drafted by the Timberwolves, and it's already been reported during the interview with you that you're going to perhaps Orlando.
Yeah, I'm happy to play in Minnesota, Houston, Orlando, Indiana, wherever I'm going to be.
Right.
And it's confusing, and the reason for it is arcane. It's just the NBA going, well, the rules of the thing. Shut up. Like, just stop it.
Well,
simplify it. And
you
the
wonder
thing
if the cap and all the stuff they have to do, the matching salaries, if they have to still got to go through that compliance or so.
I guess, but they could just do it, and who's going to oversee it and go, well, this is wrong. The lasting image of the NBA draft that I'll always have, that is the highlight of this, and this has been 25 years ago, is Kobe Bryant wearing Hornets gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the league rules don't start for another few weeks, and so that's what their excuse is. But I just think that's such a stupid excuse. Like, it's one of your big nights. It's your biggest night outside of the season, and nobody knows what the hell's going on.
Even one of the broadcasters who does a great job last night was confused on where somebody went, whether it's the Knicks or somebody else. Ochai Agbaji was drafted by Cleveland, 14th overall pick. Christian Brown by Kansas. Denver picked him at number 21, and 4 players for the Big 12 drafted. Bill Clark of UAB. We got a couple of things here that Mitch Thompson is going to join us. Bill Clark of UAB is going to have to retire because of chronic back problems. You want to go back to the NBA draft?
Yeah, I do. Baylor with a WNBA, NBA, and NFL picks this year. You look at some other schools, they got shut out entirely of both the NFL and NBA draft. And that's interesting to look at, especially, given how much trash talking there is at times from certain schools to get blanked in the 2 biggest drafts. And some of that can be the youth of your program or whatever, but for Baylor to have, 6 guys drafted in the NFL draft, to have 2 guys last night, I think that's pretty dang good. And then to have a couple in the WNBA draft, which I know some people might not put right up there with the other 2, but still, those are the main 3 sports, and they got, at least 2 people drafted in every single one of them, and some got blanked out of 2 out of the 3, or one of the 3. So I think that's impressive and something to definitely, make note of if you're Baylor.
It could be something you're young, or it also could be why you're not very good.
Or you're not developing, yeah.
North Texas linebacker, Katie Davis. We talked with Max Olson about him yesterday. Is on his way. His first visit will be Texas A&M. All-Conference USA grad transfer, 3-year starter for the Mean Green, entered the portal yesterday. He will visit to Texas A&M. I'm sure there are many others, but a day after he's entered the portal, he is on his way to another campus. In this case, it is the Aggies. Again, College World Series has the day off. They'll back at it. Last night, speaking of WNBA, Queen Egbo and Alyssa Smith played in Dallas, and the basketball team, Baylor women's basketball team, was there to support them in their game against the Wings.
Speaking of WNBA draft picks, but there you go.
Yeah, no, there you go. Both of them very, very, very quickly taken in the draft. And then also LSU did get Michaela Williams, star, maybe the number one player in the country. A big, good-looking player, guard, who can probably play more than that, committed to LSU. And Kim Mulkey earlier today as well. And I'm sure there were other programs that thought, but right there in their backyard in Bossier City, Louisiana. All right, we'll take a break right here. Mitch Thompson, Baylor baseball coach, should join us here momentarily. We'll have him. Grayson at 3:45. Your chat room, we appreciate it. Text line as well. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. If you have a doctor that's saying, hey, we couldn't quite tell what we needed to tell if you had an x-ray because something hurt you pretty badly, and they suggested MRI, you then suggest Ideal MRI in the Central Texas marketplace, just southern part of Waco on I-35 and the Highway 6 exit. Ideal MRI, $497 for every MRI or less. Not $497, then $1,500. $497 or less every single time, and they'll also help you with your insurance filing and papers as well. Ideal MRI in the Central Texas marketplace, whether it's a ligament or a muscle or something you need, they will find it at idealmri.com. Thanks to Dr. Rob Maxey and as well the great staff of Texan specialists at idealmri.com. We're going to keep it here, Sick on 365 Radio and 365 Sports, and I'm sure this probably sounds good as it did yesterday at the press conference. Baylor baseball coach Mitch Thompson joins us on Sick on 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Mitch with David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak. When you ever going to get tired of hearing that?
I'm sure not tired yet. I can promise you that, David.
Yeah,
it's exciting times.
You were incredibly emotional. Not surprising. You've always been someone that shows your emotions, something that means a lot to you. What's today been like now that everything's official?
It's work. Here we go. I'm actually out at a ball game right now. Watching guys play, and it's hot out here in Texas. I can tell you right now, it's hot. But out here trying to chase down players.
Mitch, a lot of people will never get a chance to get their dream job, and you've gotten it. What were the moments after it was official like for you to have that realization of the dream job is happening?
Last week when the job was offered to us, and, we were waiting just till the next morning to make the announcements, to go through the process of letting, my MCC players know and MCC administration know, and then the Baylor players know of the hire before it was hopefully announced. Really emotional for us. So it was tough to keep quiet about it. You wanted to turn some cartwheels and scream from the mountaintops. That we're so excited to be back. So yesterday was a lot of fun to publicly get a chance to do that, and to see so many people, and to hug so many necks. I haven't been able to even come close to answering all my phone calls, text messages, or any of that. I may never get them done, but I'm trying. But I'm also trying to get the job, get to work, and start doing the job that I've been hired to do.
Coach, congratulations. When Mac Rhodes gave you a call, how much had you guys even said hello to each other previously before that? And what was it like getting to know him and getting back and forth with him a little bit during that process?
Yeah, Mac and I had probably only said hello a couple times, maybe spoke for, a total combined 2, 3, 4 minutes, but I can tell you that I was so impressed with him. I was so impressed with his professionalism. I was so impressed with his process. And it made me know that he really, truly cares. It made me know that, he cares who are the people who are leading his programs. He cares about his programs, and he wants the most success for them. And so, that going through that kind of a diligent process, and it was truly diligent. It was, I spoke to him probably 3 or 4 times, and it just let me know that, man, they really care. So really professional, really smart, really glad he's my AD. Can't wait to get to know him even better, and hopefully win some championships for him.
So a week ago on Wednesday, had I seen you an hour later when I was jogging around towards your ballpark, and you were getting out of your truck, and I kind of thought it was not the right time to ask you anything new, knowing you were a part of that search. But an hour later, would you have said, hey, psst? Would that have worked?
You scared me, David, when you came around there and I recognized you. I had a suitcase outside the truck. I was going into the office to get my clothes out of the locker room, knowing that it was going to be announced an hour later. You didn't see the suitcase, or maybe you would have thought something about, what the hell has he got a suitcase for right now? I was just kind of grinning, going, yeah, he's going to be a little surprised there in an hour.
I thought it was a briefcase, so that's what got you. You got lucky because I thought it was a briefcase. I wasn't paying that much attention.
I had a backpack. I had an old Baylor baseball backpack with me too, and I actually turned it around so it faced the car so you couldn't see it. So I was trying to be stealth because, the worst thing that could happen in that kind of a situation is that my administration at MCC, or my players at MCC, or the current players at Baylor are to hear it from somebody else.
Yeah.
who the guy is. What we wanted to do is we wanted to handle that really professionally, and I appreciate the Baylor administration wanting to do that. Where we could communicate with those people in a quick order and make sure that everybody heard it from the people they ought to hear it from before they read it on Twitter or read it on a news release.
What is the biggest thing you learned from being a JUCO coach that now you can apply for being the head coach at Baylor?
Oh, probably the biggest thing is just, keep hunting for players. There's players out there. Man. Some of the guys that we were able to recruit to McLennan, my goodness, how did we get them there? How did they get to us and get passed over by so many places? When you look at even, the College World Series right now, I mean, Jimmy Crooks is going to be the starting catcher for OU. Well, Jimmy was coming to us, and Jimmy didn't have a dadgum Division I offer. And Jalen Battles is the best shortstop in America right now at Arkansas, the best shortstop in America. Jalen didn't have a Division I offer either, but we saw him, and, if you keep hunting, if you keep working, you can find some really good players out there, and we're going to be doing that all summer long right here.
Mitch Thompson, Baylor baseball coach, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Coach, just what is the process like? I mean, getting underway, did you pretty much have to just get straight to recruiting? Kind of tell us how those first 24 hours sort of felt between the elation of getting the job and then also like, okay, what do I do first?
Well, you know what to do first. I mean, first it's got to be about people, and so you got to try and communicate with all the players and calm their hearts and calm their minds. Hey, this is going to be okay. But yeah, you got to get a staff hired because your staff is going to double or triple the work that you can do. And I'm just so excited to be able to start that process, and hopefully in the next couple of days put it to an end. And I've got my staff, and now we're hitting the ground running in 3 or 4 different directions, and we're getting after it pretty good.
Mitch, we had Steve Smith on last week, and to kind of just get his feedback on, and I know that was a difficult time for a few years, and he went into how you guys started to slowly but surely get to know each other again, or get back to shaking hands and seeing each other at children's weddings and whatever else. And you brought that up about when he brought it up when you called him Smitty. How much was that like an almost olive leaf between the two of you? Because every player that heard that interview that we did was thrilled, along with many in Baylor administration.
Well, I think that, that we went through a tough time. I think if both of us could go back 10 years ago, we'd both handle things differently. I know that I would, and I know I've heard that Steve would handle them differently too. And, we had a really good thing going for a long time, and you got 2 really strong personalities, but we could have definitely handled it differently, and it would have worked out a little better for both of us. But we both went through a hard time. Now we both moved on. We've apologized, and we've talked about it. We kind of hugged it out, and we're gonna move forward. I actually told people at the Heart of the Order yesterday, that Steve and I have reconciled this thing. He's always going to be welcome at the Baylor ballpark as long as I'm the coach. All those guys are. I'm blessed to be the new head coach here, and anybody that's put in time here at Baylor is going to be welcome there. And we're going to reach out and cross the gap. But no, Steve and I we're making progress for sure. And it's not like we're dodging each other anymore for sure.
That's awesome,
Mitch. The changing prospect of full scholarships for equivalency sports is on the horizon. We don't know when exactly it could happen, but it is. How much of a game changer is that for not only college baseball but institutions like Baylor, who maybe don't have lottery programs or things to kind of cover that 11.7 scholarships on the back end if they can't offer those to guys?
Yeah, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that that's going to be a big-time game changer. The finances for college education for these kids is, it really separates some places, and it makes the job harder at some places than other places. Not that it's impossible to do, but that it makes it more difficult. And you've got to find a little different niche of player and different niche of family. So, we're going to play by the rules that we have until the rules change. But if they can give us 25, 26 full ride scholarships, I'll be turning cartwheels. You'll hear me yelling.
Yeah.
You'll hear me screaming, because then it becomes about the people. It doesn't become about the money anymore. It becomes, who do I want to play with? Who do I want to play for? And that becomes the number one factor. And when that's the factor, then game on. No doubt about it.
Mitch, you get a honeymoon period here. Is there anything you've already asked for your honeymoon period?
No, you know what? I got the job. That's my honeymoon.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel about it.
Well,
and I know this, that the administration is behind us. The administration wants to support us. The administration understands that there's things that need to happen. But hey, I'm going to go to work and do the job that I have. I know that when we took the job, 27 years ago in 1994, we had a way worse situation. We didn't have anything close to that Baylor ballpark or the facilities that we have or anything else to recruit to. So we'll handle this just fine. And when the administration's ready to go, we'll be ready to go. And we know that they're on our side.
After the decision was made, Coach, and you knew that you were going to be, the head of Baylor baseball, what was it like to walk into that clubhouse or into that stadium for the first time again?
Yeah, actually, we went there last week with my girls and Amber, and it was the first time Amber had been back in the ballpark in 10 years. Kind of an emotional experience for them. I've been in there, and my girls have walked in there a couple of times, but my girls were raised there at the ballpark, and it's kind of a funny thing, but my 25 and 22-year-olds were over there on that berm hill, and they got all goofy and decided to roll down the hill again. Figured it out. It's not as much fun as it used to be. But really emotional, and it's such a beautiful place, and we're just so blessed right now to think that that's what we're at. We're going to try and rebuild.
Mitch, I know you're putting your staff together, and you're out obviously right now, and we're going to try to keep you from being interrupted too much longer. Watching talent, you can't talk about who you're watching, but what has been the reaction from maybe those who you have contacted or others to try to help maybe get you in front of others? Not that you need help, because you know pretty much all the good talent and where it is.
Well, I've heard from so many high school coaches around the state, and the select coaches when I run into them out here at the ballpark, they're also excited. They know that we've worked really hard for this opportunity, and they know who we are, and they feel comfortable in sending us players and trying to turn us on to guys. So I'm excited. I'm excited for them to have a chance to send them to Baylor and to help us do this thing. So, I think the reception's been great. From the recruits that we've contacted, the reception's been great, and we're just going to keep making relationships and building them and adding kids as we can add them.
Every day I drive by your baseball stadium that's being renovated at MCC that will also be very much a part of your life on my way wherever, here to the studio. You left MCC in a lot better place than where they were when you arrived 9 years ago. The best compliment is when, obviously, Sean Trocum said, "It's time. It's great. We're excited." Your time at MCC and how much better you are after the 9 years.
I think what happened with me is exactly what McLennan Community College's purpose is to try and help educate, elevate, and provide opportunity for everybody who works there and everybody who comes there to go to school. And they did exactly that. They allowed me to keep my family here in town, to let my girls have a normal high school education, normal high school growing up period. And they allowed me to continue to do what I love to do, coach baseball. And I'm so tickled that, we could accomplish what we did over there. And I think it was really good. And I think it's going to continue to be really good. And I'm excited for the future of that program too, and to have gotten the turf built, the turf field and the lights and the padded outfield wall coming. They're set up. They're set up pretty good. And I actually mentioned that to the president when we were talking about it. I said, this isn't for me. This is for the next 30 years. this is going to help separate McLennan for the next 30 years. And, President McCown understood that, and she was all for it. And so they're blessed, and I'm tickled that we did leave it better than what we found it.
Mitch, thank you so much. Congratulations. We are thrilled that you are the new baseball coach and thrilled that we get to talk to you more often again. We appreciate it.
David, I hate keeping secrets from you. It wasn't any fun. So
You only had to do it for like an hour.
Yeah. Damn it, that backpack.
Yeah.
You turned around that backpack. If you wouldn't have done
you were
that.
right.
Oh.
You were right there, David. It was right there. But no, the problem was you were working too hard. You were sweating too hard. You were thinking, my goodness, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
So good for you out there working out.
I'm glad I gave you a scare. Thanks for your time, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Mitch Thompson, Baylor baseball coach. I'm serious. There were a lot of folks that were a part of that press conference yesterday from the past players, the Heart of the Order, a huge group that helps support Baylor baseball. Those, of course, players there as well. He is a fun-loving guy. Craig, you used to do a segment with him at the old station, and he has done, and he's won at Baylor as an assistant with Steve Smith, and he also did a remarkable championship job at MCC.
Yeah, he did. And like I said, a week or so ago when you said something similar, a lot of the times those conversations were about MCC, but, more often than not, they'd be about just baseball topics. Like if something interesting happened in MLB, or a different rule change or whatever, it was cool to just pick his brain and just talk baseball, not even so much the Highlanders, but talking about them was cool too because they basically just won all the time. That's what they did. They won and won and won. And then they go to Colorado every year, and a couple years ago they won it all, and then this year fell a little short, but they were always in contention for it. So, I think people hear that interview, and he's going to be, really good for us in terms of just covering baseball and reciprocating that interest and just being open about the program and all that. Not that Steve Rodriguez wasn't, but we just got a better relationship with Mitch Thompson. He's been around here, for a while. So it's more comfortable in that way. That's cool, but just knowing how he recruits and how hard he works and just the mind that he has. He's at a baseball game right now. You'd expect him to be, but still to know that he is, it's good to know. And I'm excited to see, how he recruits and how he puts this new team together. And if they can get that scholarship situation worked out, then I think they'll be able to contend with most out there. Not right away, but pretty quickly.
This is a guy who helped put a team together that went to the College World Series and 11.7 scholarships and put guys in the program like Jason Jennings and David Murphy and all that with the Baylor tuition too. I know everybody does that, but yeah.
He just mentioned they get the best shortstop in America right now as a former MCC guy. There's tons of guys around like College World Series that are MCC guys, et cetera.
So if you can get those guys in a full scholarship now, that could, like he said, it's about the people. It's kind of silly that there's sports that you can get a full scholarship on. There's ones that can't, and it's because of reasons, and it's not even Title IX because it's the same for the Title IX sports, the women's sports. They have to deal with 11.7 scholarships too. You can just do 25 each, and you still are in compliance. It's about this and that. So it's not about money anymore. It's about where do I want to go? Like, do I want to go to Baylor? Do I want to go to Texas Tech? Well, if I wanted to go to Baylor, now I can afford it and I don't have to.
Well, that is true. And there's no question, but I still think that at times that can almost be used as an excuse. If there's still a lot of, Baylor was doing well without all that. They've been doing well. They just kind of had a flat tire. And a couple of things that went wrong with injuries with the key players and their pitching staff as well.
Yeah, it can't be an excuse, but it is a factor
it's
a disadvantage.
And the rolling economy of the country too probably affects it a little bit. Like if the economy's bad and your parents have to cut back a little bit, or you have to cut back, then maybe you don't get to consider a school that you would normally, and it ebbs and flows how things go. But there's too many factors that, from the outside, that shouldn't determine where you go to school if you can get a scholarship, to me.
All right, I want to do one thing. And behind us, you'll see a bunch of helmets, caps, pennants, and some of the Baylor fans are hyperventilating because there's a TCU pennant and a helmet behind us. Listen, we want to be your go-to place if you love Big 12 schools. The ones that are there now and the ones that are incoming with Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and Brigham Young. And I think we've pretty much opened our arms to all of that with who we've been able to have on the show and what we discuss. But really, college football in general around the country. That's up there to give you an idea that we have reached out to many schools. The TCU helmet and banner came in today. Now, I've got a couple of responses. Paula goes, okay, that's enough. That's long enough. They're all going to be up there at some point. We're going to rotate them. But it is our commitment to the entire conference, which is what I think will be great. Yes, rivalries, some of them hateful. But at least I think that's what's going to be great about going forward is that we could all be one family, including the conference.
And again, we'll take anything from any conference.
Absolutely. If it's Troy, send it to us. If it's Akron, send it to us.
Except for if Texas sends like some Gary Patterson signed photo, I'm not putting that up on the stage. That's not getting up here.
We're not going to. And I talked to John Bianco, who's the head of media relations at Texas and a UT. We have a UT helmet in the background, but in Oklahoma, and you could see all the other ones. In Paul's 2004 Florida State hat that's got sweat lines around the bill. Hey, there's a lot to get to. We'll hear in just a second from Grayson as well on the weekend coming up for Baylor football.
Yes, I've been wanting to mention this for a couple minutes now, but if you're driving around Waco, because we do have our Waco audience as well, there's a massive cloud of smoke in the air that I've wanted to let everybody know what's going on, because when I was driving over here, I noticed it. But there's a big brush fire, apparently, that got out of control right over by Baylor's campus. And as I was making my way over here, I said, all right, that's not a normal cloud of smoke over there in the distance, and that's really close to Baylor. And sure enough, had like 4 or 5 different fire trucks and emergency vehicles that came blaring past me in the 15-minute drive over here. So just letting you know, if you are in Waco and you're wondering what the heck is going on or what that big plume of smoke is, given – I don't know what anybody's starting a fire in these conditions right now. I don't know how it started. Maybe that wasn't it. Maybe it's just some leaf cut. I don't know. But that's what's going on, just to give you a heads up.
Well, it could be somebody that really did something stupid, or it could just be a spark off of something that fell into the highway.
But they're having to evacuate homes in the area, so be mindful of that over by Kendall Lane.
Grayson Grundhafer will join us next. Sikkim 365 recruiting analyst, co-host of the Bearcast as well. We are excited about today's show, and we hope you are as well. Behind the scenes, it's Jack McKenzie, Emery Winter. It's Levi Caraway, who is listening, I think, to that interview, and he covers Baylor baseball, and Garrett Ross, Paul Catalina, David Smoak, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Obviously, almost 99.9% of all the discussion about recruiting yesterday was the Arch Manning commitment to Texas, and deservedly so. But there were other players who committed. Baylor got another safety as well. And we're now joined by Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com, recruiting analyst and co-host with Craig on the Bearcast. Grayson, under the radar because of what the day meant for Arch Manning and Texas, Baylor yet added another player to their class and the second safety in their class. And you kind of describe him for us.
Yeah, so the guy, obviously, that you're talking about is DJ Coleman out of Mesquite Horn. And he's one of those guys who came on a Baylor camp visit, and then he left with an offer immediately following that trip. And then he was actually able to get back on Baylor's campus within a week. And he was on campus this week, I believe, on Wednesday. And then, of course, he announced on Twitter that he was going to, announce his commitment on Thursday. Of course, it ended up being Baylor. The kind of interesting part was that he got a Florida State offer right after the Baylor offer, too. So you kind of thought, okay, maybe he's going to blow up a little bit. Maybe he's going to wait a little while to take his time to make a decision. But instead, he was just all in with Baylor from the moment he got the offer. He's a guy who, when I saw him at camp, you see a guy who's got very good length. He's like right around 6'1", 6'3" wingspan. But then you see how strong and thick he is. He's listed at 190. I think he's probably closer to 195 or 200. So a great build already, and a guy who I think will probably fit in really well to the boundary safety position at Baylor. Basically what Christian Morgan played for the Bears last year. So he'll bring that athleticism. He'll have to play in a 2-high look next to the field safety and be a guy who they're going to have to count on with his range and his speed. So a nice pickup and a guy that essentially replaces Javion Wilcox, who, of course, decommitted from Baylor and committed to TCU a week ago.
Grayson, Arch Manning committed to Texas yesterday, and we'll get your opinion on that in a second, but there's always a domino effect, when the schools who got told no on a player then have to react to it. Particularly Georgia's the one I'm thinking of. Will Georgia now start to look at other options, possibly including Austin Novosad, because they missed out on Arch Manning?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance that Austin is on Georgia's radar. Austin is also on Texas A&M's radar as well, as he's going to the 7-on-7 tournament this weekend in College Station. The state tournament's always there, and so he's going to visit A&M as well. So, yeah, I could see Georgia potentially making a move at Austin, especially after missing out on Arch. But, guys, I really, everything I hear from Austin, the vibe that I get is it's pretty much going to be Baylor or Ohio State. It's just really hard for a number of reasons. The first one is it's hard to replace those relationships that Austin's already built particularly at Baylor. But, he's been talking to Ohio State now for a while too. So he's built a strong relationship with both. And then he also wants his, recruitment to end on July 1st. So, that's a lot of work for any staff to do to try to flip a guy who's kind of got a date set. And then, of course, he's going to the Elite 11. And I'm thinking this next week at the Elite 11, he's probably going to want to rep the school that he's going to go to, whether that's Baylor or Ohio State. I think that's part of it. The other part is Austin's really intrigued by the offensive system ran at, particularly Ohio State and Baylor. And if you look at what Georgia does, I don't know if that's going to be very appealing to him. The way they run their offense is very run heavy. It doesn't really accentuate the quarterback entirely. Now they haven't had, a number one pick quarterback because they decided to start other guys over Justin Fields. But I just think that part of it is probably missing as well from Georgia. So I still expect it to be Baylor and Ohio State, even though I could see Georgia turning their sights to Austin for sure.
So looking at the month of June here, they've got, 6 commits now over the last 3.5 weeks or so. Been very active, been very busy, up to 15 total, and Novosad is one of those. But Grayson, where is the next place that Baylor now looks? What's the next thing on the calendar as far as this recruiting class goes?
Yeah, another official visit weekend. So the third in a row. So another opportunity for Baylor to dive in and add some more commits, which I fully expect they will. Actually, I feel really good right now about 2 or 3 guys becoming Bears relatively soon. And so for that reason, you kind of look up and you go, oh my gosh, this class might be at, 20 by the time June gets here or June ends. And so, that's kind of where they're at. This weekend in particular, there's probably going to be a bigger focus on the cornerback position. They have 2 cornerbacks who will be attending the official visit. So that's a position they don't have any guys currently committed. So I do think that's an area where they could definitely maybe add a guy. And I would also say right now, defensive line is a huge emphasis for this staff. They're really trying to build that defensive line because they're going to lose so many after this season. So that's kind of where they're at right now as far as official visits go. They have a camp this weekend as well. They'll have one more camp at the end of July. And then, of course, fall camp is almost here, after that July camp. So that's kind of where things are at right now, just trying to shape this class while also being very smart and tactical about the guys that you take and the guys that you maybe wait on. Because you got to be smart with the spots that you have. You don't want to fill up too quickly, especially when there's guys who could emerge during their senior year.
You mentioned Austin Novosad, and that, of course, is the bell cow of the 2023 class, with all due respect to everybody else. And we know what happened yesterday with Arch Manning. We know there's other quarterbacks who've committed as well, class of 2023. No matter what other services say about Austin Novosad, where would you put him in that group among those who are 5-star?
Yeah, I've probably talked about this a lot with Craig on the Bearcast, but every time I watch Austin play, I get more and more impressed. Obviously, the offer list is there, and I really think he's going to go to the Elite 11 and really, really perform well. And so all of that, matching the film, matching how many times I've gotten to see him in person compared to the others, might make me slightly biased. But I do think that when I watch him play compared to the other guys who are, the 5-stars, the top of the class, I see some things that are very comparable between Austin and those guys. And I also see areas where I believe Austin could potentially have a higher ceiling or be better. So, for me, I think he's right around probably a top 60, top 70 player in the entire country. And if you're that and you're a quarterback, that probably fits you into right around the top 6 quarterbacks in the entire country for the 2023 class. I think you could make a case that he could be the number 1 quarterback. I think you could make a case that he's the number 8 quarterback, but I think he definitely fits in that group, that top level of quarterbacks. And I posted a tweet yesterday after Arch committed, but the Big 12 has Arch Manning committed to Texas, Jackson Arnold committed to Oklahoma, and Austin Novosad committed to Baylor. There's not a better trio of quarterbacks committed in a conference in the country right now.
Grayson Grunhafer, Sikkim 365 Radio, recruiting analyst with us on 365 Sports.
So we saw Jeremy Sohan goes top 10 last night. Kendall Brown goes second round. What were your thoughts on the NBA draft in Baylor basketball?
Yeah, I mean, as a Spurs fan, I mean, it couldn't have gone any better. I mean, are you kidding me? This is one of those kind of surreal things. I was actually at one of my best friend's weddings when I heard the news that he was actually going to be a San Antonio Spur, and you kind of saw the draft shape up, and you saw the guys that got chosen and kind of how it was all unfolding, and you get to 9, and I thought Jeremy was going to go before 9. I pretty much had everything confirmed that he was going to be a top 10 pick, but you know, it started to lean like he was going to be maybe a top 8 pick. So to see him fall to there, I definitely thought there was a chance the Spurs could take him. They did. I think it's a great landing spot for him. I mean, if you kind of look at, the Spurs history and track record of developing talent and also developing foreign players, I think it fits really, really well. And I think Jeremy's going to fit in so well with the culture of the Spurs, and he's going to get an opportunity to play right away while also being developed. So very happy to see that. As far as Kendall Brown goes, you know, it's really tough because obviously he elected to leave early. A lot of people had him in mocks going, you know, inside the top 20. And then as the draft process unfolded, literally over the last 2 weeks, you started to see him fall and just fall and fall and fall. And then last night you're sitting there and you're honestly wondering, is he going to get drafted? Like, did he really leave early to get undrafted? But he was able to get drafted at 48, which great for him, very happy for him. But it also makes you wonder, you know, did he make a mistake? Should he have stayed another year at Baylor, developed more, and been a first-round pick? You know, that's something that I think everyone's probably pondering today. But I know it was something that I thought about, and I felt bad for him as well, just the fact that he fell as far as he did.
Yeah, Grayson, there's something weird that happens in the draft between picks 26, 27, and 50 where it stops being about maybe who is the most athletically gifted, or it goes against that. But for Sohan in particular, I said I was on the radio in San Antonio this morning, and he's like the Spursiest player that they've gotten a draft in maybe the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, exactly. And he honestly fits what they've been trying to build as well. I mean, you look at this team, they're just so long and lanky. You see Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, even guys like DeJounte Murray and Joshua Primo. They're all very long. They all have the long wingspans, and, you know, they're versatile. And I think that's what the Spurs are trying to build. So that part makes a lot of sense. And also, of course, just fit. Just kind of everything that Sohan does when you watch him play really fits what the Spurs have always kind of been about. That hard work, that toughness, the versatility on the defensive side. I just think it's going to be a great fit for him, and I expect him to make an impact this year and really have a great career as a Spur.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Grayson. Thanks for your time, Grayson Grunhafer, a couple of times this week after the big weekend visits and commitments over the weekend, last weekend or earlier this week, and now, of course, as we head to the weekend yet again. 7-on-7 state football tournament is going on down in College Station. I was driving down Airport Road earlier today to go to one of the Ace Hardware stores that's nearby, and there's a huge TAPS, the private school area. The private school, I guess, governing body was having a massive 7-on-7 tournament where there are a bunch of soccer fields off Airport Road. When we come back, the 4 o'clock hour will continue. Hey, later on, former Baylor wide receiver and now a part of Austin Peay's coaching staff, Lanier Sampson, will join us. Much more to come. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, now available on DoorDash. Look, if you're a fan of, not having to go to places to pick things up, well, you can now do that at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. You can order it on DoorDash and, continue on with what you're doing, or you can walk into their great location at Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street behind the bank and see all the great things they have. The locally sourced Texas whiskeys, the great craft beer. And again, it's summertime, the craft beer, that rotation. So you're going to get some good shandies in there, some good, maybe some lighter stuff, some good wheat beers in for the summer. That's what's going on at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. Find out more on their Instagram page, order them on DoorDash, or just pop in Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street behind the bank.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% for 72 with 5,000 down, cash or trade. TTL or see dealer for details. Step up your ride at Richard Carr's Summer Savings Event. Find summer savings like a 2018 GMC Sierra SLT, only $432 a month, or a 2017 Buick Encore for $183 a month, or GMC Acadia for only $280 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. We pay top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always our goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This is Brown right here. Stops, scoops it up and in. Wow! Oh my God!
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We start this 4 o'clock hour. Aaron Torres, who covers sports pretty much at various levels and different sports for Fox Sports Radio, will join us today at 4:15. At the bottom of the hour, Mickey Spagnola at 4:30 on the Cowboys. And then we also have Lanier Sampson, former Baylor wide receiver, today at 5 o'clock, and the top 5 as well. So imagine, the NBA draft, which is, we discussed that quite a bit on a couple of different occasions, but you sit there and you could say to Kendall Brown, should he have come back? And Who knows? Maybe he sticks and is pretty good right away. The NBA draft, I think, is more who won't make it than will make it. And maybe that's the same thing really with the NFL draft if you look at the number of teams that draft and also 7 rounds. But you imagine that relief when his name was called? I mean, just pure relief, because it wasn't like he wasn't a little miserable.
Well, I mean, I think for Kendall, I mean, if you look at his face, I think the first couple steps he took down that stairs, it was kind of relief, because you get in that second round, and again, the lottery goes a certain way, and it goes the way everybody pretty much thinks it's going to go. And then after that, you've got about 5 or 6 picks that maybe could have been in the lottery. And then you've got a couple picks that are, right about where they should be. And then the draft kind of gets weird, because at that point you kind of have different strategies. And then there's picks that have traded hands 5 and 6 times before it's even the draft's even started, because it was in this trade. There are draft trades that they trade this guy for 2 2025 first round picks. The NFL doesn't even do that. They'll get a couple years in advance, but not 4, 5, 3 years in advance, 2026 picks. So it gets really weird, and then you don't know what's going to happen and where you're going to go. And, there's a lot of really good players. Look, Kofi Coburn was one of the best players in the country. Johnny Juzang, one of the best players in the country the last couple years, and they're both signing summer league deals right now. So, the NBA draft's a weird thing.
Well, the NBA style is also different from college basketball. Yeah. So, you can have a great player in college basketball who doesn't translate nearly as well to the NBA style. And I think that's what you see in some cases. Just like great college football players that aren't great NFL players. Same kind of thing in some ways. But, yeah, I would imagine the embarrassment alone caused a giant relief. I mean, here you are, you get all dolled up, and you're in the draft, and you made this big decision, and then you might go undrafted. I think he probably had a few conversations over the last few weeks about how great it's going to be and his dream being lived and all that. And he was, just a few picks away from not having that dream come true. And you can say, well, he would have signed undrafted, but that's not what he declared for. He declared to go and get drafted, and relatively highly. Well, that part didn't come true, but he did get drafted. So that was good to see. I was relieved for him because I started to feel uncomfortable of just – gosh, please don't show him as another pick goes by and another pick goes by, and you start to look towards the end. But, guys live that and gals live that every single year, that anxiety when the draft rolls around. Unfortunately, it was Kendall Brown. But, I mean, again, he had to have known to some degree that there was that risk because this is a process that can be a little wonky, and it's only 2 rounds. And so if stuff starts sliding, then – you know what? It could get really dicey, and it did for him for a little while, and thankfully it didn't last all the way to the end. I mean, it was relatively early on in the second round where, there was enough breathing room to be able to enjoy probably the rest of the night and the rest of the picks that came after him and with the whole media circus that comes with that. But, yeah, just glad he got picked ultimately.
Yeah, me too. A great kid, and Scott Drew, of course, was there. Went straight from the draft, which he has a great story to tell, to recruiting. Of course, they had the big pickup earlier this week with Jacoby Walter as well, and they're not done as they want more. We'll have Aaron Torres in a minute, but we did ask you, and if you weren't a part of the early part of the show, we asked you if you want to give us your 1 through 10 Big 12 football preseason standings. Preseason. So 254-339-1122. Not a call, but you can text us your top 10. 1 through 10, 1- Garrett Ross, 2- Jack McKenzie, whatever team it might be, all the way to 10. Here are, Paul, you guys kind of glanced the other direction for just a second. Here are the teams that were voted in the preseason poll from those who we've, not the whole thing, but those who have already responded. Top 5, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas State. Top 5, Baylor, Texas, K-State, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. Top 5, Oklahoma, Baylor, Oklahoma State, K-State, Texas Tech. Top 5, K-State, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Baylor, and Texas Tech.
K-State first is the one I'm having my hardest time getting my head around. And Texas is an interesting one. I was talking with our friend Andrew Baker before I got to the show. And the way I feel that Texas' season could go if they improve is they could be an 8-4 team that loses games because they can't stop the run late because their defense is pretty much the same guys it was last year, but they're going to have, big, gigantic, swaths of offensive performance because of those skill positions, but maybe get sacked a bunch of times by teams with good offensive line. So their season might be pendulum swinging back and forth all year long. So I really don't know what to think of Texas yet. I'm going to have to see them. It's the same way for everybody. Texas is the hardest one to put my hand on. But K-State at number one, I'm not ready to go there. But, the three I would put at the top in whatever order you want to put them in are Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Oklahoma because, seem to be the deepest teams so far. But, again, we don't know about Oklahoma. They haven't had a season like this, a change since pre-Bob Stoops. So, I don't know.
Nobody knows. That's why we're all guessing, and I think that we all have our different ways of trying to break down all the information that we've gotten so far, and to do the best that we can with that to come up with these predictions. I think you can make an argument for why Oklahoma State and Oklahoma and Texas and Baylor all seem like really good choices. I think it's interesting to kind of hear that some of the love for Iowa State has died off. Again, TCU, one of those teams that's kind of flying under the radar a little bit that could potentially be a lot better than expected. And I think you got teams in the middle like West Virginia and Texas Tech that those are the ones that I don't really know about. I feel like I know pretty well about the ones that are expected to be pretty good. Now, in what order, obviously? I know what Oklahoma's got, but I know there's a lot of optimism about them, but, man, that's still a first-year head coach, in Brent Venables. And I understand Jeff Lebby and big offense and la-di-da and all that, but – do y'all realize how freaking good they've been for how long?
Yeah.
You don't think?
Do y'all realize how, it's just expected that, they're just going to continue on. I don't know, man. I think that they could win the Big 12. I think that they could win 10 games. I think that they could be really good, but they have been on a freaking dominant run in this conference for going on a decade plus. And at some point, that does end. And I don't know if that ends with Brent Venables or if that just ends in general because other teams catch up to them or what. But, if they're able to just seamlessly go from Bob Stoops' success to Lincoln Riley's success to Brent Venables' success, then Joe Castiglione needs to be the director of everything. That would be phenomenal. I have a hard time believing that it's going to be that seamless of just, here we go winning 10 games again, despite all of the changeover and all the transfers and all of that jazz. I'm a little bit hesitant to be all in with them as the favorites, like we typically are every single year. I'm a lot more hesitant. I think Texas could be sneaky good, but, I think the thing that prevents me from just going in with them is, one, their offensive line, certainly, and their defense to a lesser extent. But it's just because I'm so tired of all the fluff every year that it's hard to see through that and determine really what's what. Do people expect them to be good because they should be good, or do people expect them to be good because you're just hoping to be right this time that they are so you can say that they are?
I think you could have said that over the last several years. Now, they had the momentum off the team that played in the Sugar Bowl, but then, again, they blew a tire.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes to kind of see through the hype with them because they get hyped up this time of year every single year. And it's every single year, and they'll be voted one or two you watch in the Big 12 media poll without fail. And if they're not, I'd be shocked by that. But, there's a lot of hype with Ewers. So, yeah, I think you can kind of peg sort of who's going to be in that mix, but to what extent, yeah, that is the question mark because there are a lot of things that have changed over. But it's going to make for a fascinating race, I feel like, because there could be those K-States, Techs, and West Virginias that throw some of those more favored teams for a loop on occasion.
Like Baylor did last year when they were not thought of to be ready, and, of course, they were amazingly ready. And even Oklahoma didn't play for the Big 12 title. It was just like an inch or two away or a second or two away. If you are, and a lot of people are, and I mean this as sincerely as I can, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, then I bet there's a really damn good chance that you're also probably, not all of you, but there's a large chunk of you that are Texas fans. Can you imagine the anxiety, the consternation, the frustration, the ups and the downs of the amount of coverage you love, and yet the expectations are more often than not the last 10 to 12 years completely out of whack. And about the time you think you're about to take the next step, you blow a tire. It's in their some or both fan bases.
Yeah, they're on this weird parallel track with each other lately. And
great traditions, incredible history, massive amount of fan base. By the way, James Akinjo headed to the Atlanta Hawks Summer League team. So congratulations to James. Break here, then Aaron Torres?
Yes.
We'll break, come back with Fox Sports, Aaron Torres, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat earlier this week. Ted Teague sent me this note. No monthly payments for 90 days during a 4th of July sales event. No payments for 90 days during a 4th of July sales event. Now, here are the vehicles in which this includes. Dodge Challenger, Charger, Durango, Jeep Compass, and Jeep Grand Cherokees, the WK, the WL 2-row, and the WL 3-row. Ram Light Duty DT, Chrysler Pacifica Gas, and also the 300. These vehicles, no monthly payments for 90 days. These are eligible 2022 vehicles at Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco. The 4th of July sales event is amazing. They also, of course, have great opportunities for you to buy that spectacular SUV that's tearing it up in the Wagoneer 2 and 3 series. Ask your sales representative for that, client manager for that. Great place. Ted Teague, the GM. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's summertime. There's picnics, reunions, cookouts, and so much to do. And Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco is your home for the butcher shop that can help you with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. They are spectacular at being able to deliver you whatever cut of steak you want. Bone-in ribeye, however thick you want it, that's great. They'll do it. Sirloin, T-bone, porterhouse, bacon-wrapped filet. And, of course, as I mentioned, they have pork, poultry, and seafood. Their Norwegian salmon is spectacular. Also, all of the sauces and seasonings you'll ever need, all the ingredients you'll ever need to make sure you have that perfect, flawless taste. So it's delicious whenever you take something off the grill. And a full-fledged bakery as well, with fresh baked bread and kolaches every single day. Up and down the aisle of Waco Custom Marketplace, you also have what you need, from knickknacks to snacks to more, at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Fox Sports Radio, Aaron Torres is always a great listen. Joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. And oh, by the way, Aaron has his own media pretty much department as well with Aaron Torres Pod. He joins us after the NBA draft and also entering another weekend this summer. Aaron, thanks for your time. I kept seeing Jabari Smith, and number one. And then when I heard Pablo Banchero's name, it did not surprise me at all. I thought he was fantastic in the tournament.
He was fantastic in the tournament. He was fantastic in the regular season. He was fantastic in high school. Listen, first of all, we all get that, draft season, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I don't think that Jabari Smith would have been by any stretch a bad pick. But, what I think is so different from the NBA draft than the NFL is that really, the top couple players know they're really only going to one or two spots. And so, 3, 4, whatever, you get the point. They don't even start meeting with teams until about a week before the draft. Like Jabari Smith met with two teams. I don't even think he met with Houston. Met with Oklahoma City last week, or Orlando early this week. So Orlando didn't even get him in the building until this week. So the idea that they had their mind made up a month ago or the night of the lottery, it just doesn't fly with how this process works. So, I'm a little surprised only because throughout the process it seemed as though he was the favorite. But like I said, with the NBA, and especially in a year like this where there was no clear-cut number one guy, I just always thought it was laughable that this decision was easy or that it was made a long time ago.
Aaron, I saw one of your tweets that a lot of people are thinking that Banchero was a bad first pick. For my money, as a guy who watched a ton of college basketball this year, I was surprised that there was any talk of anybody but him being the number one pick at times when you looked at how he played, especially in the tournament. Your thoughts on the fit for Orlando, which has a lot of young pieces, but not necessarily continuity yet?
Yeah, it's funny. The night of the NBA draft lottery, I said if I had the first pick, I would take Paolo Banchero. Now, that wasn't what I thought Orlando should do. It wasn't me projecting that I had some inside information. But I agree with you is that, one, he was excellent all year. I think the thing that I kept going back to is that, like any sport, different teams are at different times in their development as an organization. And the Orlando Magic are not the Oklahoma City Thunder or the Houston Rockets. Both of them, you guys probably have better insight than I do, being closer by than I am. But those two organizations are very much in the beginning to middle stages of a rebuild. And when the draft order fell the way that it did, I kind of thought to myself, I said, I haven't really thought about the Orlando Magic in a long time. Am I crazy or have they just not had any success? And so I looked it up. The last time they won a playoff series was 2010, and they have won 2 total playoff games, period, since that 2010 stretch. And so why I always like Paolo Banchero is because I think when you're going on that long of a stretch of futility, I think it's hard to sell your fan base on a guy that is developmental, which certainly what Chet Holmgren is. And Jabari Smith is talented, but I still think he's probably not, anywhere close to reaching his potential as well. So Paolo can step in right away while also still kind of really having a lot of upside at 19 years old. So I'm with you. I always liked Paolo. That would have been my pick. I didn't begrudge Orlando if they went in another direction. But I don't think that we should be all that shocked given Paolo played, for the biggest brand in America. He was their best player. He was a freshman. By the way, he played his best in their biggest games. He developed really nicely over the course of his high school career. He's far from being a finished product. I don't think people should be as surprised or outraged today as I'm seeing some people being.
Aaron, for the Baylor fans out there, they had a couple of guys to keep track of with Jeremy Sohan and also Kendall Brown. One of those did not have to wait very long with Jeremy Sohan going number 9 overall to San Antonio. I think if you would have asked a lot of people before the draft, like what would be a great fit for him, Greg Popovich and just the Spurs organization would be a great fit for a lot of people. But what do you think of that fit in particular for Sohan?
Yeah, I think it's a great fit. I agree with you and anybody that was saying that before the draft is, listen, we know what he's about, competes on both ends of the floor, a guy that isn't defined just by his offensive stats. And so to now go to an organization that historically, and I know they're in a little bit of a transition right now, but historically no player has been bigger than the organization, dating back to Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and all those guys. I think it's a perfect fit. He, by all accounts, me watching from a distance, you guys being there, was a great teammate, was willing to do all the little things, which we know as a freshman, there's not a lot of guys that are like that. Tough as nails. I think it's a great fit. I really do. And I think the other thing too, kind of to go back to what I was just saying about Banchero, the Magic, whatever, is the Spurs are, still kind of in this rebuild, and it's kind of a good fit because he's a young guy. Obviously, we know that he wasn't super highly ranked coming out of high school, probably going to need some time to develop. And, the Spurs are a place where I'm sure he's going to get plenty of opportunity to play early, but they don't necessarily need him to jump in right away and be a missing piece, even be a piece on a really good team that, whatever. So I just look at it. I think it's a perfect fit. I mean, San Antonio's track record of development and scouting and evaluation speaks for itself. And I think he's a guy with his skill set and by all accounts, his work ethic. I just think it makes perfect sense. I would add, too, I know from a Baylor perspective, it doesn't move the needle very much, but I think the guy that they got later in the first round, Malachi Branham, fits a lot of those same traits for the San Antonio Spurs.
Aaron, how confused are you watching the draft, even though you're tied in pretty well about these trades? And why can't they just be open about it? Why can't they say with the 23rd pick in the draft and a trade from so-and-so? It seemed like it kind of on and off. It really is kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, a few things on that. One, obviously, I know that through the years, NBA insiders have tipped picks and trades ahead of schedule. But, a lot of people aren't on social media or aren't on social media, every second of the entire draft. I know that I'm certainly not. And so that's where it gets a little confusing to me is, you have guys breaking news online. But then last night they were breaking news during the broadcast. If you miss something, it's hard to get updated information. I'll tell you guys, the truth is that, I started recording my podcast, with probably about 2 or 3 picks left in the first round. And even as I was recording, about a half an hour later, I had to go and make a few small edits because I said, X, Y, and Z got drafted by so-and-so, which they may have, but they ended up with a different team. And so, I do think it's a little confusing. And then again, ESPN's decision to report some stuff in real time, even before the commissioner announced it, but then some stuff they waited until when the commissioner announced it. Listen, I'm not here to tear down other people in our industry. I think everybody's doing the best that they can, but I did find the broadcast a little bit confusing at times. I'm with you guys. I found it confusing. I found it hard, especially later in the draft when there's more movement. I mean, those top 10, 12 picks, those guys, the team identifies the guy they want, they go get him. But after that, there's a lot of movement, and I found it hard. I'll tell you, even this morning, kind of going back and trying to figure out who ultimately ended up where was a little bit more challenging than I remembered in the past.
Aaron, you're a big college football guy as well. The last time we had you on, we talked almost exclusively college football. The big college football story this week is Arch Manning on his way to Texas. Your thoughts on that and the ripple effect it has, not only for the Longhorns, but the recruiting world outside of that?
I'll tell you guys, I'm sure you guys agree. In June, from a content perspective, on the one hand, I was hoping to get a few more weeks of content out of it. But, on the other hand, it's funny. I was on in College Station this morning, and the host said, I really am not that, like, it doesn't matter to me. He's not going to start right away if Quinn Ewers is who he thinks he is. I think it's the exact opposite. I mean, look, if this kid had committed to Alabama, I think it feels a lot different than committing to Texas with the season they're coming off of, Steve Sarkisian's track record as a head coach, the move to the SEC. I find it absolutely fascinating. I think my biggest takeaway, I threw it out on social media when I saw the commitment, and I stand by it, is a couple things. Is one, what I know you guys live it every day down there, but the what is it going to take for Texas to get back conversation? If you sign essentially 2 quarterbacks in 3 classes that are deemed the number 1 player in their recruiting class, and you can't build a championship caliber team around it, knowing the way that other elite players want to play with elite quarterbacks, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. And then 2, I do think this is kind of the moment in time for Steve Sarkisian. Obviously, look, I don't think, barring a complete disaster, nothing's going to happen after this year. And I think this obviously buys him a little bit of success, but it goes back to what I just said a minute ago. You're the quarterback whisperer. You're the guru. We live in this NIL world where obviously Texas has a lot of advantages in that space too. If you, as Steve Sarkisian, can't build Texas into what we all think Texas is capable of being, with Arch and Quinn Ewers as bedrocks of that program, you're just not the guy that's cut out to have a job that I think we all deem to be one of the best in college football. I know maybe Baylor fans disagree with that, but it is a great job with a lot of resources. And if you can't elevate that program, and I know they're going to the SEC, and I'm not saying they need to compete with Bama tomorrow or Georgia tomorrow, but if you can't elevate that program again with a bedrock of both Quinn Ewers over the next 2-3 years and then Arch Manning to immediately follow him, I don't really know what else can really be done, or maybe it just speaks to another miss in terms of the coaching hire. I do find it fascinating, though. I really do. And and I'll say this, I know I'm going long here. I'll just say really quickly, I think with Steve Sarkisian's track record, Texas's track record, the transfer portal, I don't think this story is anywhere near done. Not hoping Texas is a disaster, not hoping anybody transfers. I don't think this story is necessarily done, though.
Yeah, it's no question. They've had great talent before, but to have them back-to-back on the Aaron, thanks for your time. You guys have anything else? Thanks for your time, man. We appreciate you jumping on with us. Enjoy the weekend.
All right, my pleasure, guys. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Every day, Aaron Torres, again, Fox Sports Radio on many things, a lot of it NBA draft, which he was all over, but also a little bit about college football as well.
Yeah, I was caught off guard by just how different that Arch Manning commitment felt versus, I don't know, basically every other one that I've ever seen. I go back to basically like the Ryan Perrilloux, Fred Rouse, like those cats back in, the early 2000s. That's how long I've been following recruiting. And there's been some guys here and there, like when Trevor Lawrence committed, or, even Quinn Ewers was a big deal. But there was something just different about Arch Manning. The fact that young man can post one tweet, his first ever tweet, and it's getting bigger numbers than like full-blown celebrities. It's just weird, and not in a good way or a bad way. I just found it strange, like why this one commitment felt different than every other commitment I've ever seen in terms of the reaction to it. And I know part of the reason why is his last name is Manning. Like, that's a big part of why, is we care more because we feel like we know this guy a little bit more because we know his uncles. And we know his uncles were Super Bowl champion quarterbacks. And so, therefore, 2 + 2 equals he's going to be a Super Bowl champion quarterback and play for national titles and do all that. But, yeah, I was blown away to see that. And that's why I said yesterday, like, great for Texas, on the playing side. Like, again, I don't know if we'll ever even see him suit up in the Big 12. I don't know. If Quinn Ewers is as good as he's supposed to be, then he's going to be the starter for the next couple. Like, here's how I saw Texas fans land it out. Because I wasn't trying to get immediately into the, oh my gosh, what happens next with the dominoes? Because it's like, he just committed. Like, can we just let him be committed and then worry about all the rest of it before we give it a grade? But, I understand in social media land, we have to immediately react and give it an A+ or a D- or whatever. But, again, he might not play in the Big 12 at all, depending on when they exit. So let's see if the hype for Quinn Ewers is legitimate before we get too up in arms over Arch Manning's hype and whether or not he's going to turn out to be, the golden child. But they've got 2 incredibly popular, incredibly viral, incredibly talented quarterbacks, and it's set up so nicely for them because that move yesterday, I guess my overall point was it wasn't even so much about his play. It's about just the reaction and the attention and the recruiting that will come with that. And just like this young man's got a following, and clearly that last name and his game led to more people than I've seen in a really long time caring about a college football commitment, and that's great for Texas.
And they've had a bunch of good ones. I mean, in fact, I saw some discussion about, is this the biggest commitment ever? We've heard that before. Hell, Bijan Robinson, Earl Campbell in 1973 or whatever. And then, of course, Vince Young, among many, 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 many others, and some have worked, Garrett Gilbert. But I'll tell you this. It was different, and the Manning family is almost as if they are their own planet. You have your father, his grandfather, in Archie, who was an incredibly popular player when he was in the NFL, getting beat up every time he went back to pass with the Saints. He's been very much out there when it comes to a lot of different committees. They have the academy. You have Peyton, who was supposed to be thought of as the perfect quarterback. And then Eli, who wins twice against Tom Brady and the New England, and one team that looked to be unbeatable, and maybe both times. And he's always thought of as the old gosh Eli, Yeah. And then on top of that, it is a family that is almost like their own franchise. I think also
they're football royalty. That's what they are.
Yeah, I do. I think that they are, and I also think that because I love the way he handled it. And I think that also brought more interest because you didn't see, like we said yesterday, a lot of hype of where I am or who I am or where I'm getting offers or not. It was bam. And it was done I think everyone thought it was coming, but the way it was done was, to me, so cool. Whether he had committed to Texas, Georgia, or Alabama.
Yep. By the way, I'm going to Texas. All right, see you later. That was kind of how it felt. Well,
and it wasn't even see you later.
Yeah.
No, I do think it's interesting when the number one overall prospect in the country can just handle it that way versus the guys who put out the top 22s for just the camps they're going to. I mean, I don't want to disparage people. You want attention, that's fine, but it does look a little ridiculous when this guy can just go drama-free the entire time with the biggest schools known to mankind and just plop that commitment out there and not say a thing along the way. But there's guys who are like borderline 4-stars that have to tell us all 60 schools they're visiting over the summer and then list. I just, to each their own again. I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but it's just a very different way of handling the attention. And for a guy who really could have abused all that attention and really ratcheted it up, I think it was awesome the way he handled it, because that's how I imagine I would have loved to have handled it if I was in that position of just cool, calm, and collected, and boom, here's where I'm going, and no drama. I think that's great.
By the way, Craig brought up Fred Rouse, who did commit to Florida State. I'd like to give you his stats for his 1 year at Florida State. 6 catches, 114, and a touchdown. And then
the Ryan Perlew one had a lot of drama because he committed
went to a casino or whatever happened.
And then
those guys were all supposed to go to Texas, and then Perlew played a little bit at LSU, but he certainly was not the dude he was supposed to be. And then the third member of that trio, if I remember correctly, was Martellus Bennett. That was the big trio I feel like that they were trying to get, and maybe I've got that, but I believe it was Martellus Bennett who obviously went to A&M, but it was Rouse, Perlew, and I think it was Bennett back then. But that was like, 2003-ish or something like that? Yeah.
I do know this, that he committed to anybody else's favorite college. And we had text, Paul, and you were in a group text. A guy goes, why are they, and it's a big school, it's a fan of a huge school, one that won a recent national title. If anybody else would have had their logo and the commitment from him, even those who have quarterbacks, if they had been recruiting him, they would have exploded in excitement as well, and then the name Manning involved. And is it because he's a damn good player? The only thing you don't know is you never know what the transition is. Does it mean he's going to be great? Maybe he'll be even better than his uncles. Who knows? But the bottom line is that I love the way he's handled the recruiting.
I think that's the thing, though, is he doesn't even have to be great for this to pay off. Like, that's the thing. It's already paying off. It's already going to get them probably 2 or 3 5-star skill guys because they just want to play with Arch. And so it doesn't even almost matter if he lives up to that hype for right now. I mean, the soonest he's playing is next year. Not this upcoming season, but the following season. So you got over a year of just being able to press that hype of Arch Manning and the future and all of that. And then if Quinn Ewers takes off like he's supposed to, That's what I was looking at earlier was, the people who wanted to clamor right away were like, well, one of them's going to transfer. And it's like, okay, can they play first? Like, let's just see Quinn Ewers take a snap before we get into the transfer portal talk. But that will be interesting because I saw a lot of Longhorn fans who are rationalizing, saying, all you people getting up in arms, well, here's what happens. Quinn Ewers plays for 2 years, does really well, goes to the NFL, and is a first-round pick or whatever, and then in comes Arch. And that's in a perfect world. If it works out that way, then Steve Sarkisian's got it rolling big time, which is what he's there to do. But, it could also be a little bit more complicated than that. And I'm curious to see, what happens with Malik Murphy. What happens, there's a lot of questions still, but it's good living right now for Texas. Yeah, it's a great problem.
It's a great problem to have. You're set up what could be for the next 2 to 6 years or so with what you have coming through the pipeline. And then, someone, can they protect him? Well, they just had the number 1 overall offensive line class. Well, they've had that before, but I get it. And then can they stop the run? Well, that happens every year for everybody, but it was a hell of a day. And thanks to Aaron Torres for being a part of the show. When we come back, Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com, Sikkim 365 Radio, and 365 Sports. PettyClinicalOT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want and need to be. Maybe, as you've gotten older, used to be. Maybe you never had problems with ED. Maybe you never had problems with any kind of sex drive that was just kind of missing. Maybe you've never really had issues with sleeping unless it was a health reason for that. And also, you've always been full of energy. And some of that is missing or all of it. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, and Dr. Kent Petty can try to help find out if you are one of those 3. He will help you set up an appointment to go get he will set up the appointment to get your blood work. He'll look at the results, look at the lab results, and if your testosterone is too low, he can put you and give you an option to be in a program to increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man that you really, really want to be, need to be, and used to be. Go to the website, PettyClinicalOT.com, left-hand corner, number and email. Tell them I sent you at PettyClinicalOT.com.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves. Probably 9 out of 10, every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and David Smoak, and Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com joins us on the show every Thursday, but this week, thank you for his patience on Friday. Mickey, who is missing, in your opinion, if you could name one person or maybe even 2 from the Cowboys' Ring of Honor?
Oh, boy. You should have gave me some time to study that. I'm going to say, so I'm going to go kind of way back. And one of the guys that I know the old-timers that covered the team would always mention was Cornell Green, defensive back who hadn't played any football, was a basketball player coming out of college, and ended up being part of their kind of championship corner secondary. After that, you know, and I'm probably biased on this, but I certainly was a fan of Everson Walls getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I'm thinking, if I think he's worthy of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, then he should be worthy of the Cowboys Ring of Honor. And I thought, you know, what Trayvon Diggs did for Everson's notoriety and bringing up his name and understanding exactly what he accomplished, especially his rookie year when he had 11 interceptions, which still stand. It's tied now with Diggs, but the most any NFL players had since 1981. I just think that's worthy of some sort of further recognition than just saying he owns the Cowboys' rookie single-season interception record.
Mickey, do you think Jimmy Johnson will get in? I mean, Jared kind of backed off that a little bit. Do you think eventually that will happen, even though – because he did say it last year, right?
Yeah, and I think it will. I think he didn't want to take away from the Hall of Fame stuff that was going on with the Cowboy players and then try to upstage it with a Ring of Honor type deal, or try to compare Jimmy going into the Hall of Fame and saying, oh, okay, now we got to put him in the Ring of Honor. But I think at some point that'll happen. And I understand if there's an argument against him. He was only here 5 years. But what he did in 5 years was rather remarkable, because what people tend to forget is this organization, this franchise, was on a downtick.
Hadn't gone to the playoffs since 1985. Hadn't won a playoff game since 1982. And if you remember, 82 was the NFL tournament because it was a strike season. So he sort of righted the ship and rebuilt the franchise into what it had been. And I think, when you look at why he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I think that's a big reason.
Well, Mickey Spagnola with us, DallasCowboys.com on Sikkim 365 Radio. There's a lot of guys that the Cowboys drafted, of course, with what they did just back in April. And there's been a lot of discussion about Smith, and you've mentioned Williams to us, and Tolbert and Ferguson or whatever. Tolbert seems to me that the Cowboys do a really good job with these receivers that they get that are after the first round, that are maybe a Michael Gallup or others along the way. You think the same thing can happen with Jalen Tolbert?
Not only do I think it could happen, it really needs to happen. Because, if you look at it, with chances are Gallup's not going to be there for the start of the season, could miss a month. CeeDee Lamb's going to take on a role that he hasn't had previously, meaning being the number one wide receiver. They tried to fill in the gap with James Washington, and they're going to try to rely on him more than he's ever been relied on during his 4 years in Pittsburgh. So to me, they need somebody else to step up. And, just from what I've seen of Tolbert, I think it looks like a logical choice. He's versatile. It looks like he can play all three wide receiver spots. Catches the ball, seems to run good routes, sharp kid. And the other thing I noticed, I don't remember if I told you guys this the last couple times, but in that the only mini camp practice, he was back there fielding punts. And he had a very natural ability to field punts that I didn't know that he had. You can tell if it's natural for guys like CD, when he goes back there to field a punt, it's like he's a magnet and the ball's just coming right to him. It's not a bunch of stutter steps. It's not like going back, coming forward, moving to the side. He's always right underneath the ball. And I saw that out of Tolbert. And if they're planning, more snaps, more opportunities for Lamb, I don't know that you want him back there catching all the punts. And remember, his sidekick catching punts last year was Cedric Wilson, who's no longer here. And I didn't see anybody else maybe capable of doing that other than maybe Trayvon Diggs. But if you're forcing a punt, that means Trayvon Diggs has been out there playing 4, 5, 6, 7 snaps. And now you want him to go back and catch punts. So I think what they need is the guy that's kind of the safety returner to just catch the ball. And this kid looks like he can do that. And then you would have the ability, if it's an offensive return, to put Lamb or maybe even Diggs out there.
Mickey, how big a camp is this for Tristan Hill?
I think it's a very important one. I think at times last year, and we got to remember he was coming off of ACL surgery, that he kind of showed the spark that you would be looking for a guy that you drafted that high. He's going to get opportunities, but he's going to have competition because they like what Neville Gallimore can do. And assuming he's healthy, he only played like 5 games last year. Osa Odigizua had a really nice rookie season, and they even moved last year's third-round pick, Chauncey Golston, from defensive end. They had him taking snaps at defensive tackle at the 3 technique. So that 3 technique's getting pretty crowded. So he's going to have to rise to the occasion and show what he can do. Now, the kid will work hard. I think he's matured, and he does have some skills. Now he's got to really show it, because I think there's going to be some good competition there, and it possibly could be for roster spots.
Mickey, what do you think is going to happen, and how long do you believe the suspension will be for Deshaun Watson?
Oh, man. I have no clue on that. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. But just judging from how they rendered a decision against Ezekiel Elliott, it seems a lot more serious, even though there was no legal action against Zeke, right? But again, the NFL did what they wanted to do, and I could see a year. I could see him having to serve a year. I could see that happening. But you just never know what's going on and who's making the ultimate decision, because Goodell will listen to somebody before he forms his opinion.
Yeah, I think.
What do you guys think?
I think it's going to be, if Alvin Kamara is bracing for 6 games, Zeke got 5 or 4, whatever it was.
I believe it was 6, by the way.
Yeah, 6 games. Then I'm thinking, a minimum of 12, if not almost the whole, if not the whole season.
Yeah. And these things are so hard to sift through because. A lot of this stuff is he said, she said. I understand it. And it's whose word are you believing? And unfortunately for him, there's a mountain of words against him, right? It's not just 1 or 2 cases. And then you get a kind of an attorney looking for fame to argue the cases. And so it's really hard to figure this out. Now, the grand jury, why did they do what they did? The grand jury never has to explain their decisions. But you'd sure like to know what was the reasoning behind no billing him on those charges.
All right. Thank you, Mickey. Appreciate your time. Have a great weekend. Mickey Spagnola, we're almost a month away from Cowboys training camp, July 26th in Oxnard, kicking off that start of training camp in the NFL. When we come back, Lanier Sampson, former Baylor wide receiver, he tried the NFL and it just didn't work. He was on practice squads at different school programs, including the Cowboys, Colts, I think, and another one. Then he played in the Canadian Football League in Ottawa for, I think, a year. Then he got into coaching, which he didn't want to do. But a former Baylor assistant who's now a head coach on the East Coast kind of convinced him that he probably should think about it. He's now leaving that coach for another job. Lanier Sampson, next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace is open until 6 o'clock tonight, open tomorrow for most of the day, and right now they've got some specials as they head into the weekend. This is through tomorrow until they close their doors. Fresh red snapper filet. First time I think that I've actually promoted that. $29.50. I've talked about that Norwegian salmon. It's unbelievable. Gulf shrimp, $31 to $35 in a package, $5.99 a pound. Hot links and chicken wings and chicken tenders. Special prices, hot links $3.50, chicken wings and tenders $3.99 a pound. Tri-tip at $4.99 a pound. Choice brisket at $3.90 a pound. And oh yes, right around the corner, coming up a week from Monday is 4th of July. And so perhaps you want to have a customized order for just that, the weekend, family coming in, and you're going somewhere else, you can do that as well. And until the end of the month, which is closing down here at the end of June, the live crawfish will disappear. Well, not disappear, but won't be available. So you have until early next week to do that. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish. Order by Wednesday at 6 and pick it up on Friday after 4. I think there's one more week left of that, even though July turns the corner into early or into the end of next week. Brian Bauer, the Bauer family, they do an amazing job. Fresh baked bread, kolaches every day, full throttle butcher shop and bakery at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. This is a great time for your business.
Exactly. And one other thing we do that a lot of people don't know is we buy jewelry, heirloom pieces, gold, silver bars, gold bullion, watches, anything you may have that you want to. If you don't want to use it and remake something like I did in a state yesterday and I looked at 35 pieces, well, they're probably going to sell me back 30 because it's something they're not going to wear, nothing to use. So if you're looking to get a few bucks or to sell something or something you just don't wear anymore, I make my wife go through her jewelry box about every 6 to 8 months, and the things that she doesn't wear on a daily basis, this sounds horrible, but I take away from her and then I'll put in my estate counter, but then that gives me the chance to rebuy her something new moving forward. Instead of looking down 20 years down the road and you have 300 pieces of jewelry, it's something to refresh and make her buy something new along the way.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Florence to the end zone. Sampson got it. Touchdown.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Joined by Austin P. wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator, former Baylor wide receiver Lanier Sampson, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. You're moving up that coaching ladder, young man.
Yes, sir. It's been definitely a blessing, to say the least.
When did coaching get in your blood? Was it even early in your career? Was it while you were at Baylor? When did that kind of hit?
Well, to be honest, I didn't want to coach one. After I got done playing football, I wanted to be done with football completely. But Coach Babers, me and Coach Babers stayed in contact throughout my NFL and CFL career, and he always told me when I was a player at Baylor, whenever you want to get into coaching, let me know. And so I decided I wanted to get something I wanted to do was get my master's. And he was heading to Syracuse, and I let him know in 2015, end of 2015, that I wanted to get into coaching. And so he stayed true to his word, brought me up as a graduate assistant at Syracuse in January of 2016. And from then on, I just got around coaches and kind of changed my perspective on how I felt at one point in time. Got a chance to get my master's from Syracuse in education. And like I said, I got around these young men, and being able to mentor young men each and every day is something that I love to do. So being around them and being around football again, just from the coaching standpoint, was refreshing for me. And then from then on, it just kind of took off for me, and I enjoy it to this day.
Austin Peay, obviously an opportunity for you, and not just wide receivers coaching, that's a role, but also passing game coordinator. Is that a pretty quick jump for you?
It is. But being a receiver all my life and understanding the game of football, and then having just my experience and the background I've had being around some great coaches as well, kind of prepared me for this moment.
RG3, I sent him a text last night. I said, tell me about Lanier Sampson from your perspective. He said he was overlooked because of Kendall, T-Dub, and Josh, and T-Reese, but he was my guy, and if given the chance, would have been the most prolific wide receivers in college. I love that guy. That's from RG3. What does that mean?
It means a lot for me, especially with the talent that we had on the team. And, yeah, I was very overlooked when we had a lot of talent. And so, I mean, it's only one ball on the football field, and I just appreciate the time I was there, being able to make the plays that I was able to make for us to be in the situation, the position we were in at that time, especially, I guess it was our junior year in 2011, the year he won the Heisman. And so it means a lot coming from a guy like him. And like I said, I don't discredit anything from, all the other receivers we had, because they were great receivers. And so it was just it was loaded. And then we had some young guys as well in that room that kind of had to wait their turn. So it was a loaded group, but I wouldn't want it any other way.
He also told me your nickname was Longfoot.
Well, look, he maybe called me Longfoot, but it was really Lenny Longchain from Coach Browse. But I had a few nicknames, so it was a little bit of everything. But I did have the fastest 40 up until, T-Reese got me 1 year.
I'll bet, yeah.
Yeah, he got me 1 year, and after that, I did not have the fastest 40 because T-Reese ran, I don't know, something really fast, and it was faster than what I had. But I appreciate the compliment, but I got surpassed by Tevin Reese.
You mentioned that you wanted to do something else after football, but is it really just going to always be in your blood?
I think so. I've been playing this game since the age of 6. And no matter, how many different ways I may try to not, coach or anything like that, I think it's just in me. I mean, being basically a player's coach at Baylor, a lot of the times and helping guys out, I was fortunate enough to be a 4-year starter. So we had some young guys that came up after me that, instead of Coach Babers having to do the coaching, I was doing a lot of the coaching. And so I think it just kind of was instilled in me, at a young age, and it kind of just stuck with me.
So you're juggling right now because you were at Austin Peay earlier this week. Now you're back at Syracuse. They've got a visit weekend, and then you have to get yourself back to move back to Tennessee. Is it like a whirlwind, like a blur right now?
Oh yeah, it definitely happens fast. I mean, it happens tremendously fast, and in this coaching profession, that's how it happens. And so, it's been a whirlwind trying to get done what I need to get done here at Syracuse to wrap up, and then and then go to Austin Peay and do what I can to help our team, win ball games. And I think Austin Peay is a great place, man. They have some great people, great coaching staff. I mean, great players, and I'm excited.
Lanier, you mentioned how Coach Babers mentioned coaching to you when you were actually still playing. and now you're moving on. And this is an opportunity. This is a promotion for you. This isn't like anything lateral. This is a better opportunity. But how hard was it to tell Coach Babers you needed to go?
It wasn't hard. We have a great understanding and what this profession comes with. And at the end of the day, like you said, it was a promotion for me. And he understands the game. And, we've been around each other for going on almost 4 years now. And so he just, like I said, he understands the profession. He's been in it for 30-plus years, and he knows that, when a promotion like this comes, I can't, pass on the opportunity, especially with the coaching staff I'm working with Coach Scotty Walden at Austin Peay. It's a great opportunity to pass on. And so it's been it wasn't as tough as you may think.
What was it like to be the one on those teams in 10, 11, and 12 that took the next step?
It meant a lot. I mean, we went through a lot during that time. I mean, the first year I was there in 2008, we went 4-8. I redshirted that year. The next year, Robert tore his ACL. Nick Florence came in and did a tremendous job that year as a freshman. And we just didn't win enough games. Went 4-8 again. Before that 2010 season, we went 7-6, and then the Heisman 2011 year from Griff, we went 10-3 that year. And I think it really did something to me. We fought through it. We battled through it as a team, as a coach, as Coach Brown's coaching staff, and it meant a lot because we didn't walk into anything. We had to earn everything we worked for, and a lot of that had to do with the way we persevered, the way Coach Kaz, I mean, he had a big part in that as well, and his coaching, his strength staff, and like I said, Coach Browse and his staff, man. Just a combination of guys that wanted to do well and be great, and we end up doing a good job to turn the program around.
You had some great moments. Is there one in particular, or is there a moment, a game? I mentioned the TCU game when I mentioned you got the job at Austin Peay. You had a long touchdown, and that was that one where you guys had to come back after blowing them out at halftime or third quarter, and Storr kicked a long field goal to win the game, and it really was a monster game if you think about with that team going 10-3. Was there any particular moment that you remember the most that was kind of like if you could choose just one?
I think the TCU probably was the favorite. Now, the Oklahoma game that year was also close, could have been 1A, 1B type of situation. But I think the TCU game really meant a lot to our team because the year before when we went down to TCU, I think we ended up getting blown out like 45-10 at TCU. So it was an embarrassing moment, that 2010 year. So that 2011 year, we were ready for that game, and obviously it was the first game of the season. And, it was a close game. I mean, we got out, quick on them, up 20-something points, and then we let them come back, and it ended up being a game, and Aaron kicked the game-winning field goal. But I think that game right there, kind of set the tone for that year because, like I said, we went down there and lost 45-10 the year before, and it left a bad taste in our mouth, and just the way that, obviously, I think you remember the whole incident in the crowd.
Oh, yeah. Way to go, Big 12. Way to go, Big 12. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that next year, we wanted that game, and we played like it. And even though I only had one catch for 67 yards and a touchdown, but you know me, I'm very unselfish, and whatever helps the team win, that's who I am. I was always ready for my opportunities, and that was a big opportunity right after halftime, being able to put points up for our team.
You've mentioned a lot of those in your career, Dino, Coach Browse, among others. What's the intangibles that's going to make you special?
I think I'm personal. I'm very personal. And in this game, especially with everything going on, I mean, now you have transfer portals and things like that. Just me being able to reach these young men on a different level. I care about these young men more than just what they can do on the football field. And at the end of the day, I want them to become better fathers, better husbands when that time comes, and it's just better people overall. And that really means a lot to me. And I think that sometimes as coaches, we forget about that part of things. Like, they're still people. They go out on the field and they perform, and they do well, but at the end of the day, they're people, and they like their personal relationship. They like them being able to come to you and talk about things that's outside of football that's going on in their life that they may need help with. And I think just me being in tune with what's going on in their life helps me become a better coach because, they're willing to go out and battle for you, especially when they know you care about them. And so I always say this, like I said, especially with the transfer portal, guys can jump in the transfer portal if they don't like a coach, this, that, and the other. But my whole motto is, love, coach hard, right, and love harder. And that's kind of my deal, because once they know you care for them and love them and things like that, they'll do whatever for you. And once they know you understand their background, everybody comes from a different background, so everybody's not the same. And it may be at times they're something going on in their life that you know about. So at practice that day, you may lay off of them a little bit. You just got to really be in tune with your players. And I think that has helped me become a better coach, overall.
Do you also think, Lanier, that with Coach Browse is not in coaching, and we know that, but he still has so many former staff members like Levy and Kendall and Phil Bennett and Randy Clements and Jim Gush and Dino Babers, those who coached underneath of him, and now former players getting involved in coaching like yourself. Does that help continue that tree, that lineage that was such a good run?
Oh, for sure. I don't think anyone around the country forgets where it all came from. I think everybody always talk about the Baylor system. They just continue to spread around the country, but everybody knows, where it started. And Browse was the head of all of it. And so I don't think nobody ever forgets that. And I think it just continues to grow. And I think he did a good job, and so, we're just kind of, fruits of his labor at the end of the day.
Lanier, congratulations, man. You're moving up. Appreciate your time. Good luck with Austin Peay.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it's great talking to you. Lanier Sampson, Austin Peay, passing game coordinator, wide receivers coach, former Baylor wide receiver on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Alan Samuels is having the Make the Switch sales event in June on the award-winning new 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star. In June, the special value is up to $7,000 or get $4,000 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. This legendary truck gives you that first-class feel. Alan Samuels in Waco, the place to shop for Ram trucks. First responders get $500 extra cash.
Come by. Let's be friends.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Last night, 2 Baylor players drafted. Kendall Brown drafted at 48, eventually traded to Indiana. And early on, we thought he'd be a lottery pick, and he went even earlier at number 9 to San Antonio, Jeremy Sohan. Michael Jimenez, San Antonio Sports Star Radio, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Michael, we know quite a bit about Jeremy, his story, but what has been the reaction in San Antonio to the selection?
Well, the reaction's been pretty mixed, going to be honest with you. I'd say about half the people love the pick, and about half of them are a little bit confused by it all. Not because Sohan's a bad player, but because there were so many good players still available at the time at number 9. I'm part of the camp that likes the pick, okay? But like I said, yes, 100 people here, 50 will like it, 50 will hate it.
Is part of it because he's not a scorer? Is that what they wanted? What would you say the fans wanted? Because he's not a scorer yet, not to say he won't be, but he, to me, seems to be a pretty Spursy Spur.
Well, that's it. You use the phrase Spursy, right? So what does that mean? The Spurs won 5 titles, in about a 20-year span there, 15-year span, and it was all predicated on defense. And, it was Tim, Tony, Manu. It was all about defense. Bruce Bowen, all of those guys who could lock you down defensively. The game has changed over the years. Over the last 5 to 8 years, it's changed tremendously to it's more of an offensive-oriented type of game. So I found it kind of interesting that the Spurs are going back to the Spursy ways of getting somebody who's defensive-oriented. I've seen the comps or heard the comps say that he's a Draymond Green type of player. We had to kind of introduce the people to Spurs fans saying, hey, that's the type of player that we got here. It's more about defense than offense. But I will remind people, Kawhi Leonard had no offensive game before he arrived in San Antonio. None. He was a defensive wizard, came to the Spurs, developed an offensive game, and became a superstar because of it.
Michael, Jeremy's got a big personality. He's a very likable, positive guy. Has that already kind of rubbed off a little bit on Spurs fans? Maybe even some of those who were hesitant to say, like, hey, this is a pretty fun guy, it seems like. He'll fit in well.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting with the colored hair. He has the, the green, the gold, the blue, and all of that. That's kind of interesting because, the city of San Antonio is typically pretty conservative, I guess you could say, for the most part. But it's nice to see someone with a personality that's there. And we had no idea what to expect when we first heard him and do interviews yesterday, and we hear the accent. And it's like, oh, my God, this guy's from Poland, right? So he's from someplace else, and that's a good thing for Spurs. You call it a Spursy pick. Keep in mind, Tim Duncan, Virgin Islands, Manu Ginobili, Argentina and Italy. Tony Parker was from Belgium and France. The Spurs have a history of developing players that are not from the United States. So when I saw all that, I thought to myself, you're right, this is a Spursy way. But I'm thinking about it this way. The Spurs need to have an identity of some sort. And if it's not going to be on the offensive end, may as well be on the defensive end. DeJounte Murray led the league in steals this past season. He one time made one of those all-defensive teams. The Spurs have Devin Vassell, who they got from Florida State a couple of years ago. Fantastic defensive player. Now you add Sohan to the mix. Maybe that's the identity of the team.
How much does what they are in transition help someone like Jeremy Sohan, because the expectations don't have to be like he's the missing piece?
Right. Keep in mind, the Spurs' way for many, many years was to rely on older players and all these vets who've been around for 10, 12 years. That's not the case anymore, man. The Spurs last won the title in 2014, have had 3 years in a row with losing records. But Sochan is one of 4 players now on this team who's 19 years old. Got a couple of 22-year-olds, a 23-year-old. The oldest player on the Spurs roster right now is 30. So this is probably one of, if not the youngest roster in the NBA right now. And I think he's going to fit right in because everyone's just like him. Everyone's in that age bracket there. So it's going to be a good thing. And because he's not the missing piece, he can kind of find his way and try to become a star within this organization. He's one of 3 guys the Spurs got in the first round, and I think as Spurs fans, we're just hoping that at least 2 pan out.
Michael, how do they feel about the draft as a whole? I mean, 3 first-round picks that they did have, and again, like this is the first time that they've had kind of this kind of haul in the draft in a couple years.
Dude, I thought there was a 0% chance of the Spurs keeping all 3 first-rounders because those are guaranteed contracts. Those are guaranteed roster spots. Spurs fans are used to, draft a guy, send them to the G League, which is in Austin, and or stash them in Europe or whatever the case may be. And I'm telling people, no, when you have 3 first-rounders, you can't do that. There's only 15 spots allowed on an NBA roster. So because of that, these guys are going to be part of the varsity squad, if you will, pretty quickly. I can see Sochan being part of the team when the first game of the season in October. As far as the Spurs fans' reaction to this, I think it's interesting because there's certain players that the Spurs have that were end of their contracts, like Lonnie Walker. The Spurs drafted 2 wing/guards at number 20 and 25 in the draft last night. Malachi Branham from being one of them. And it's one of those things where we're taking a look at it and it's like, oh, the Spurs are moving forward and probably dropping some players along the way. But this is going to be a longer rebuild than what Spurs fans had originally anticipated. We were going from the Duncan years and the baton had been handed over to Kawhi Leonard, and that guy screwed over this town and this franchise, and the Spurs have been in rebuild mode ever since. But it's exciting for me as a Spurs fan because, there's something to be said about falling back in love with the team with new players. And we're young, man. This is a young squad.
What is it, Paul, you and I, Craig, we've said this before. In the NBA, either you have to be really good or about to be pretty good, on the cusp of being a good, or bad. You can't be kind of in that 30 to 35. I know that the Spurs have had this win or that win, but would you agree with that, Michael? You got to either be really bad because you don't want to be in the middle.
Yeah, before the draft, the Houston Rockets GM said it best. He says the NBA punishes those in the middle. You either race to the top or you race to the bottom. And I hate for it to be that way, but it kind of is. But we've seen this over the years with teams like Sacramento and Indiana and a variety of different teams that are just kind of like perpetually at 37 to 43 wins, and they're never going to go anywhere because they're not bad at they're too good to not make the playoffs sometimes, or and they're also too good to sometimes miss out on those lottery picks. They're just kind of in the middle. And the Spurs can understand. We talk about how this franchise has built its name in the draft because they picked Tony Parker at 29. They picked Manu Ginobili in the late 50s and DeJounte Murray at 29 and Keldon Johnson at 29. That was like our lucky number there. But let's not forget that it all started with the fact that the Spurs got Tim Duncan at number 1 way back when, in the late 90s. So, I'm one of the few Spurs fans or guys on the radio over here who's saying, you know what? We need to get as much talent as possible, and that comes from the draft because there are not a lot of free agents, big-name free agents who want to call San Antonio home, unfortunately.
You mentioned Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, that's a bitter pill. We got some people in the chat room saying, hey, wait a minute. He did win in Toronto. He's now with the Clippers. He had a little bit of rocky time there with them as well. That's one of those that's going to sting for a while, right? Kawhi leaving or not being playing or whatever the story was, because I think both could have handled it better. But is that going to sting for a while?
You know, it always sucks to be ghosted, man. I mean, that's basically what he did. What he did to the Spurs, he ghosted us, and the reaction that the Spurs fans and organization had, I think, was valid. But you know what? He's showing his true colors again because he's doing the exact same thing to the Clippers right now. So, you know, from a Spurs fan perspective, you got to look at the long game when it comes to things, and that is a bitter pill. But the Spurs got in that trade for Kawhi Leonard. They got Jakob Poeltl, who's their starting center. They got DeMar DeRozan, who has since been traded away to Chicago. Spurs got that 2025 pick. But the Spurs also got a first-round draft pick in that trade for Kawhi Leonard that became Keldon Johnson, who won a gold medal for Team USA, who averaged 17 points per game for the Spurs last season, knocked down 40% from three. The Spurs actually got something out of that deal, and Keldon Johnson is probably one of the most beloved Spurs of the moment. Sohan will be one of them as well because I think his personality just fits this team. But, thinking about Kawhi Leonard, it's like thinking about an ex-girlfriend who did you wrong.
Michael, thank you very much. Appreciate you being patient with us, jumping on a little bit later than we thought. Michael Jimenez, Sports Star Radio in San Antonio, on Jeremy Sohan and the Spurs in the draft last night, with Sohan going number 9 overall. All right, we'll keep it here for a second. Garrett, I'm about to send you a clip off Twitter to see if we can possibly play it. The Manning passing camp. Good timing there, huh? Arch yesterday committed. Now the passing camp is academy-type drills going on. And, in fact, we had Kyle King.
You think he's invited to it?
Well, I got a feeling he's probably hanging around a little bit. And there's a comment or two from, I think, Peyton on the commitment. We try to put that up if we can today. 5:55, Paul Catalina's top 5 as well. All right. What have we not covered? The chat rooms now all went from, for whatever reason, it got into Nebraska football, which I didn't even bring up. Then all of a sudden it's about our guest discussing Kawhi Leonard, that Pop ran him out of town. I think that both sides, San Antonio, management, team, Pop, whoever, and Kawhi both could have handled that a lot better. But here we are again, and he mentioned that. He's got this thing going on, I think, like with Jerry West and the Clippers.
It's the same. It's a similar situation. For some reason, and where I diverge with Kawhi, which was very early on, was he somehow believed and let himself believe it that the Spurs did not have his best interest at heart when he was the heart and soul of the team, and let it get in his head that they were trying to do things that were going to hurt him long term. When, if he doesn't leave, they're still, and they get him healthy, they're still contending. We're probably not talking about Jeremy Sohan playing for the Spurs right now because there's no way in the world they would have the 9th pick.
Right.
So, it just didn't make sense. And I am assuming the Spurs, being a very no-frills organization, when they were presented with something that flies in the face of common sense, probably instead of taking a step back and going, why does he think this? They probably told them, shut up, you're wrong. That's not, maybe we're a little, maybe not that way, but that's probably how he took it. Because again, the Spurs are very no frills. You go to the AT&T Center and you look around, and it is as proud of the rodeo as it is of the Spurs. And that's not the case. Like, if you walk to, American Airlines Arena, it is a Dirk Nowitzki art show, but, there might be 4 pictures of Tim Duncan in the whole thing, or David Robinson. It's just not how they are. They've got banners hanging up in the back, like in the hallway, that they take down when they have other events. So it's kind of a different way the Spurs run things. They're very no frills, and it's worked for them for a long time. And I think that Kawhi ran afoul of that, plus his family got in his ear about wanting to be back in Southern California eventually.
Here's a quote from an SI article from June of last year, and we're now in June of this year. I have been told that by a very good source that the first issue became Kawhi was unhappy with the Clippers' medical staff because he felt that they were early on misdiagnosed. That
was well known, yeah.
And it seems like maybe Why is it when it's the same guy, superstar player? Great. Well, I love Kawhi Leonard. It killed me when he left San Antonio. I was thrilled when he won a title in Toronto. Thought he and Paul George and the Clippers might be able to actually get more done. But is this a trend, or is this where people are misdiagnosing Kawhi?
I don't know. I mean, he's and I think he's also a hard cat to understand because he's very unique. And in an NBA where everybody's kind of about flash, Kawhi was never really about that.
No.
And so, which is why I think a lot of people thought San Antonio was the best place for him. But, look, he's a great player and especially when he's healthy and plays, he's dominant, but it ultimately didn't work out, and I think a lot of it was he was getting a lot of bad noise that he couldn't filter through on both sides and decided it was best to leave. So it'll always I'm a Spurs fan like you are, Smokey. It'll always sting. When I see him play for another team, all I think is like, dang, just missed that. So I'm not mad like the residents of San Antonio are. That's probably because I don't live there, but I get it all the way around.
It really bothered me when that went down the way it did. And I don't know who to blame. I'm not in San Antonio. I just could.
How about you don't and just let, it is what it is. Like, you don't have to blame. It's not your problem to have to point the finger and say, this is your fault, Kawhi, or this is your fault. It is what it is. No matter who is at fault, guess what? They're done. And they've been done now for like 2 years. So everybody can move on along, and he's gone and done his thing, and he needs to worry about his career, and how he's going to close that up. And they need to worry about their future. So, it's not doing anything any good for either party, just continuing to kind of drag that through the mud. It's been dirty enough for a while. They both need to go their separate ways, and they have, and need to keep it that way.
Garrett, did you get that? I don't. This is Peyton Manning. This is the Manning passing camp. And we promoted that earlier this week with UMHB's Kyle King. But this is apparently Peyton talking about his nephew commitment to Texas.
Eli and I just like I said, we're his uncle, tried to be there as a resource, and obviously our names get brought up a lot, because we're his uncles, but, really, proud of him for the way he's handled the whole thing.
You think it would have been a lot different for you, Peyton, if there would have been social media around?
Yeah, there's no doubt it's different, and it starts much earlier, than it did, but, to me, anybody that gets recruited, deserves a chance to enjoy their, high school experience. Right, and high school football was one of the great times of my life. And in Canton this past August, I had Broncos teammates, I had Colts teammates, Tennessee teammates, I had Newman teammates. I had maybe 10 guys that I played high school football with, and the relationships you make in high school just don't go away. So that's why I'm glad for his sake that he made this decision. And I did have a conversation with him last week after he made his last visit, just because he kind of asked about sort of when I made my decision. And I just remember as soon as I got back from my last visit, I basically announced where I was going 2 days later, because I knew, when you know, and there's no point in dragging it out and, creating some drama. And I'm not a big fan of the hat reveal, the whole deal. So I know that's part of the show now, but I kind of liked how he did it. Once he knew, he sent the word out, and now it's just on to being a senior in high school.
All right, this Peyton Manning, one of the greatest ever to play the game. Heck, quarterback, great career at Tennessee, and a better career in the NFL. Super Bowls with the Colts, and also, of course, the one with Denver had that great defense. Is that Von Miller and company? So there's Peyton Manning. And I like the fact of the advice that he's talking about, the hat reveal and all that. That none of that was there. It was all basically, poof, here I am. And I loved it.
Yeah, and look, he grew up with family in the spotlight, so he can look through the lens of their experience. And again, the Mannings, while they're everywhere, I would say the last thing they are is necessarily flashy. So that's probably one of the things he inherited from the bunch. But, they are everywhere. You see the Mannings everywhere. So he doesn't really have to do all that stuff to get attention. He was just going to get it naturally. And if he's not, he wanted to do it the way it was, I like everything Peyton said.
And so that was that. That was yesterday. There's still some, of course, momentum, fuel from that as well. I also wanted to go back again. Earlier today, Jack received a TCU cap or helmet and also a pennant. We have different colleges behind us. And, of course, there's Baylor, a couple of different Baylor. We've had some of you, our audience, was it Juan? Was Juan the one that sent us the helmet, the University of Houston helmet? Some of them may be covered up based on the angle of the TV camera. But we're a college football show. Yes, there's main core of what we do with Baylor, and then the core of what we're trying to do every day for you as well with the Big 12. And then on top of that, there's some other schools, and we're going to put up various caps and helmets. And today TCU came in the door, and so we put that up, and we'll have more. And thanks to Steve, who sent me a text. He goes, "Where can I send you some Cincinnati Bearcat stuff?" And I gave him the address for him to send it to, and so we'll have that coming in as well. If there's a school that you have a mini helmet or you want to send it to us, just direct messages or get on the text line, 254-339-1122, and we will send you where to send it. Paul's picked up some. I've had some sent to me as well, and we can have them sent to Craig or whoever else. To the building, it's great, but there's really not an office in this building. It's mainly a condo or apartment complex, and we're on the bottom floor, and there's really not like a front desk.
People think it's us quite often, even though there's a sign.
Because it looks like it would make sense that we would be where you came in to maybe learn a little bit. And so at times, and we surely don't want it being left at the front door because it's right there on a pretty big intersection with Elm and MLK. Mitch Thompson today, Aaron Torres today, Mickey Spagnola, Lanier Sampson, among others. This is an email that I received, and it's been a while, a text line about the Big 12. And again, one of the number one, I guess, interest that a lot of you have, and we do as well, is like, who else for the Big 12? And that's not going to happen right now. The college football expansion, until that gets figured out, hey, we still got to get to the first expansion, and also what happens with Texas and Oklahoma. But this was interesting. This is from a person who goes, I was a graduate of one of the founding members of the Big 12. Really enjoy your program after stumbling across it last July when all hell broke loose. Here's what he said. He goes, the Big 12 must return to extent possible the number of viewers it had before Oklahoma and Texas exit. The 4 new schools still leaves the conference short about 3 million TV viewers in 2021. We've discussed that. Number 2, it's extremely unlikely future members will leave other Power 5 conferences to join the Big 12. We've discussed that. That leaves the Big 12 to invite. And I didn't even put we've discussed the academies, and that's probably not on the radar at all, but I still love the idea. The Naval Academy, 1.039 million viewers. Army, 804,000. A lot of that is again when they play each other. Boise State, nearly 500,000. We've discussed them before. Air Force at nearly 250,000. And Tulsa, 385,000.
No. I mean,
but again, almost every one of these not on the radar. Boise's been mentioned, and probably had there been a rapid second expansion, may have been involved. But just an idea from one of our viewers. We appreciate that. The military option for the Big 12.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, appreciate the input there, but I don't know. That sounds like an awful lot of watering down even further when we get to Tulsa. No disrespect, but. I mean, 300,000 plus people doesn't really move the needle, and I don't know how many of those Tulsa fans or Tulsa people are even Tulsa fans. I think a lot of them are Oklahoma State fans. I think a lot of them are OU fans. And then there's some Tulsa fans. So, the service academies, we've heard that several times now. I don't know what the Big 12's plan is. I think that they've got to be ready for anything. What's very clear is they got all the best teams that they could have in this last round. And I know there's a Boise State out there or the service academies or Tulsa. I think they got to I think they got to kind of wait and see what happens because, everybody's on board with each other right now. But if it was up to Kansas fan, they would have been in the Big Ten like 3 years ago without an invite, mind you. But they would have just showed up there and been invited, I guess, for some of these people. That would have just been accepted or something. But, there's always the chance that somebody could try to poach another Big 12 school because they want to expand. And you got to play defense. But, you don't want to just add teams for the sake of adding teams. And we hadn't even seen what 14 teams looks like just yet.
I know.
We're 2 years away from even seeing that because we're going to see 16 we're going to see 14 next year for the next couple years. but we don't even know what that looks like, and then we don't know what it looks like when it's actually 12 again. So by the time it rolls around to being 12, I mean, maybe they are in the mood and need to add a couple more schools to just match the other conferences that are pushing 16 teams. But, I mean, for me, I'm not a TV network exec, so my opinion really doesn't matter. But I don't know how much you're moving the needle by, adding 4 or 5 new teams. You got more teams, but do you have more money? Or are you, again, going from we're making $25 million, we added 6 teams, so we're strong, and in case anybody leaves, that's great. But if everybody stays put, now we're making $20 million. You're losing money by adding teams. And that's where I don't know from a network executive standpoint, does it make sense to maybe lose a little bit to gain more in the future or what? But that's always what I go back to. Is it strengthening the conference, or is it actually, making it even more of a gap between the haves and the have-nots?
Let me go over this again. This was a viewer who had an idea, but you're right, Tulsa. And
I know, and I'm responding.
No, I know that. I'm just saying, for his sake, I love the academies, and I know that's not going to happen, the military academies. I know that's going to happen, but Tulsa, I've never heard them at all brought up at all. We have Boise.
And the way you got to look at it, okay, so look at the 4 schools they brought in. Houston, while it's a massive population center, it is very conflicted territory when it comes to fan loyalty, but it does at least put a Band-Aid on some of the bleeding you get from losing a big Texas school. It's not going to solve that by any stretch of the imagination, but you lose a Texas school, you replace it with a Texas school, so that in a massive, gigantic television market as well, and give them a chance to grow their university. Orlando's a massive market. It's a massive university. It has a massive alumni base. BYU is a national brand because it's a religious school, and it's the only one of its kind. It's the school that you would want to go to if you grow up as a Mormon in this country. So it has a natural, ever-growing fan base because Mormons, for the most part, have big families. That's what they want to do. And then you got Cincinnati, which is another big population center. So when you look at potential people or schools to expand that kind of have to fit that category for the G5 of, are they in areas that can grow? Is giving them a Power 5 opportunity going to help them grow their brand and grow your brand and make you more money and give you more of a footprint? Because the Big 12's problem with Texas and Oklahoma leaving is the states that are involved in the Big 12, namely Kansas, Oklahoma, Iowa, and West Virginia, are not very big states. Most of the population for the Big 12 is in one state. So that's why they had to spread around and try to make it work. And there's no guarantee that it will.
No.
Well, and the other thing is you don't want to be the American Conference, even though you took some of their teams.
Yeah.
You're not trying to be the AAC, but on a major level. I mean, yes, you went and grabbed 3 of their teams, but those are 3 teams that have been fighting for just a spot at the table no matter where it came from. If the ACC had invited any of those schools, they would have jumped at the opportunity, right? Big 10, of course. SEC, of course. Pac-12 would have came calling. Hell, there's some Big 12 teams that would have left there at one point in time and almost did a few years ago. But, I mean, what's next? Are you going to invite North Texas? And we already heard SMU. I mean, there's got to be some logic to it, and I understand the logic of Tulsa and being a big city, but I don't know how much you really gain with them in particular. The service academies, maybe it's a little bit different. Appreciate the thought. I mean, there's tons of ideas that have been thrown out there, but just on like an immediate reaction to it, I don't know how much that really does for you.
By the way, that audio that we played from Peyton was from Chris Gordy, covers Houston area, and an on-air host down in Houston who's covering the Manning passing camp. It's 5:45. Wrapping up the week. To tease you a little bit, there is a chance next week, and I've done this before. We've had John Cunningham, Cincinnati, Terry Mohier from UCF, and then, of course, we had Tom Homo earlier this week from Brigham Young, getting closer. Some of you have asked about Houston's AD in Pesman, among others as well. And then even as I've teased you a little bit that we've had communication about the possibility, a legitimate possibility, of Luke Fickell being a part of this show sometime soon. We're only about a month away, maybe less than a month away from the media days with the SEC and the Big 12 and even more. And that is like almost frightening to me because I still like to have a little bit more of the summer. When we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5, Sick 'em, 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% for 72 with 5,000 down cash or trade. TTL extra. See dealer for details. Step up your ride at Richard Carr's Summer Savings Event. Find summer savings like a 2018 GMC Sierra SLT, only $432 a month, or a 2017 Buick Encore for $183 a month, or GMC Acadia for only $280 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. We pay top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always our goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
I was inspired to do this because I saw a couple things in the chat about people, because Smokey sometimes unfairly says these things are on my list, and they're not on my list. So I thought I would give you top 5 things actually on my list.
All right.
Roll your eyes all you want. This is a public service.
No, it sounds
It's a public service. Number 5, terrible bands.
And what is this list for those who...
Oh, my pet peeves and things I don't like and things that should go away in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is anything we've discussed before going to be on here?
Yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to make sure these were actual things. And some of these things people may agree with. I don't know. Terrible bands, namely Rascal Flatts, Nickelback, Kenny Chesney, and Maroon 5. If they all retired today and didn't sing anymore, it'd be better for the world. We would come together maybe as a people.
We are the world.
Yeah, I don't know. That's on my list. I realize that I am in the minority on all 4 of these. I'm just saying.
There's something about that one Rascal Flatts song.
There's not something about any Rascal
Flats. It just makes me happy.
I get very mad about Rascal Flatts because they remade Life is a Highway for the Cars movie, and people think that's who sings the song. And it's not.
Well, they did then.
Yeah, I know. Well, it just upsets me. I know it does. I realize I'm in the minority, and I'm a crazy man yelling to get off my lawn on this one. Number 4.
I think the Nickelback hate is just like a popularity thing, honestly. I mean, I get why there's some hate, but I think that became like a trend because it was mentioned in a movie. And so then it was like Seth Rogen or something. Or what was it? It was one of those types of movies. I feel like the Nickelback line was like a punchline.
They shout out Coldplay and Knocked Up. But I like Coldplay. But
okay, then maybe I'm thinking. But I know at one point it was like just became trendy to hate Nickelback.
Yeah.
But I'm indifferent on all of these.
Yeah.
Every single person listed there, I'm indifferent on. But yeah, I just feel like that one in particular because they had all of these have had quite a few hits. But yeah,
if Kenny Chesney called you up and Florida State ever gets back in a national championship game, has a suite. Contact you.
Can I tell you something? Honestly, I told Amanda last night. I know for a fact that I would not like Adam Levine and Maroon 5. I would not get along with Rascal Flatts. And Nickelback is Canadian, so it may be hard to dislike them because they're Canadian and most of those people are nice.
No, they're incredibly passive-aggressive is what they are. That's what Canadians are.
But I am genuinely terrified that I would like Kenny Chesney.
Oh, my God.
Like, I would personally like him. I'm genuinely terrified that I would meet him and like, listen, I think you're the worst singer that's ever lived, and I wish you would lose your voice, but damn, you're a nice guy.
Yep.
Like, I'm genuinely terrified about it.
I think it's always that a lot of people have preconceived notion. Yeah.
Everybody seems to like him, and I get it. I'm terrified I'd like him. Kind of like, I was...
He looks like Forrest Gump in that picture.
I was reticent to talk to Aaron Boone. That day.
Scars.
Yeah, I had scars. Number 4, people who let their children run around in restaurants. I've encountered this a lot lately. It's absolutely ridiculous.
How about grocery stores?
That too. We're getting into grocery stores in the next one. But people who let their children run around in restaurants, or maybe let them steal a drink out of a fridge. I'm mad. I'm just mad.
In the studio.
In the studio. That happened the other day here. And Garrett was powerless to stop it.
I did my best.
He did his
best.
my best. But, I don't understand why this is a thing where once the kids are done eating, you tell them, like, yeah, go play hide and seek.
Yeah, and they go underneath tables and other people's tables. And
well, listen, as a person who is festively plump, I'm quite often someone that kids will try and hide behind. And I will tell you this.
Have Luke and Leo ever run around?
Oh, yeah. And believe me, I didn't like it then either.
Okay. All right.
If you're trying to get me to say my sister is a pet peeve, then yes, she's also on the list.
Okay.
But number 3, people who won't put their shopping carts away.
Yeah, this may be my number 1.
Part of this, the reason this list happened today was I went to go refill or swap out a propane tank today at H-E-B. And 2 people who simultaneously did not put their shopping cart away caused a 5-minute traffic jam in the parking lot at H-E-B because they just left them out and they were rolled into the middle. And then the lady in front of me was quite old and was not someone who could just jump out of her car and get them. And I couldn't see it. And so I'm kind of mad at this lady. And then finally I see somebody from H-E-B running. Oh, my God, what's going on here? But there are like 20 cars behind me.
It's amazing that sometimes they'll just park it on a curb. They'll put like 2 of the up front. Yeah, this right here might be my number 1.
This really bothers me as well because it's just a level of laziness that I don't really think can be excused. I understand if you're somebody with a handicap or something and you want to say, like, I don't know. But
most of the time, the grocery store would help you out with
exactly that. Right. So, like, that's what I'm saying is, like, that's why I said I don't know to that part of it. But there's really no valid reason to do this other than you are just incredibly lazy and you don't care about other people and you're totally selfish. Like, that's all that you are.
Those are 3 reasons.
That's the only, like, that's you if you are that shopping cart person because there's no real trial or task needed to just walk a few yards away, no matter how hot it is or it's raining or whatever. It is the easiest process in the world to just go put the shopping cart up. And like you just are just a D-bag to these guys that have to go wrangle these things that are doing their job and have to go collect these carts around the parking lot. You don't care about them. You just, Oh, that teenager will go get the buggy that I just left, or taking up a parking spot because you left it in somebody's parking spot, or any other number of lazy things that we came out of this. I just think that's the ultimate laziness right there, is not putting a shopping cart away. It's the simplest thing you can do. They provided it for you, put it up.
And
Jeez
they
Louise.
provide you cart return areas that are usually 2 in each row.
There's no excuse for it. There's not.
Yeah, if you do this, the next thing you should do after you do this is get in your car and go, am I a terrible person?
Yes. I mean, you're not terrible, but you are incredibly selfish and lazy. Absolutely.
If you've done that, you don't even have that thought.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. You get upset about it, and then you realize, like, some of the things you get upset about that are just like, this is just common sense. I was taught this when I was young, and it's just the thing you do. It's just the social contract. It's what you do because it helps out other people. Whether you see that it helps other people, you know that it does. But, yeah, I mean, some people just aren't taught that or don't care, and you can't get through to those types of people.
I was at Sam's, which they have those big carts, and then, and the one off of 35, and I remember going out to my car, and there was a lady in a Mustang, and she took her cart. I saw her. She loaded her car, and she parked it, like, just right next to her front door. There was a car between her, but she could get out, but the other one. So I then was right next to her. And you know me, I'm not one for confrontation. So I took my cart, parked it right behind her car, unloaded it into my car, took my time, walked around, got her cart, walked it where it should have been, and she starts to get a little bit like...
Well, speaking of Canadians and passive-aggressive, like, jeez Louise.
Well, I'm just like, and she's like, and she goes, are you looking at me? I go, I'm just putting up your cart.
Yeah.
That's not passive-aggressive.
No, that's very passive. That's definitely...
That is the most passive-aggressive thing I've heard in a really long time. It's exactly what that is, yes.
Yeah. I felt better.
I would like this to be a misdemeanor, finable by ticket, and
$50?
No, the punishment is not cash. The punishment is you have to go for 2 hours in either the coldest, wettest, or hottest time of the year and wrangle carts.
Yeah.
Under the supervision of the kid.
How are you going to do that? They can't even put a single one up, apparently.
Under the supervision of the grocery store kid whose day you ruined, you have to go wrangle carts. And then you'll put it away.
All right.
Number 2, holidays where you don't get the day off. I don't understand why people celebrate these things, especially when you're older. Halloween falls in this. If you don't get the day off, it's not a holiday. I don't understand.
I've never had anyone say Halloween was a holiday.
But they celebrate it like it is. I mean, like they dress up.
It is a holiday.
It's a holiday.
Is it really?
But it's not. You don't get the day off of Halloween.
It's Halloween. It's freaking it's Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving. Like, yeah, it's a holiday. Absolutely, it's a holiday.
Christmas and Thanksgiving are inherently better because you don't have to go in.
It's a tradition.
Yeah.
Whatever, y'all. I mean, I think we're like really getting down. I mean, to your point, I like Halloween just fine. I can't off the top of my head recall what the other holidays are where we don't get the day off. I'm not exactly in line with you on this one.
Now we are actually starting to get more and more days off. We don't get Flag Day.
I was going to say, but like every day's a holiday. Look at the calendars. It's like it's National Pumpkin Pie Day today. And I'm sure there's like 3 things that today is. It's like Happy Goose Day and Happy Purple Soda Day and Happy,
All those. Don't like him, don't care what national day it is. I can't celebrate. And number 1, this is the number 1 thing, parades. There are only 2 reasons to have a parade. It is the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, or we won a war, or came back from space. So 3. Those 3 reasons. Any other reason, no parades.
Do you say national championship?
Look, I went to the one here, and that was the first parade I've been to in like 30 years. But I don't actually like those either.
So Super Bowl? No.
If you lived in Boston after they finally won after 300 years,
no. Listen, I have my beliefs. I love the Red Sox, but not unconditional.
Okay.
By the way, today is National Take Back the Lunch Break Day, National Pralines Day, and also National Take Your Dog to Work Day. So we didn't get the days off for that.
The dog thing's cool.
Poor Woodrow got screwed.
Yeah, he did. Parades. I went to the Macy's on a school trip way back in like middle school. That was cool to experience, but I mean, it's one of those two where I don't feel like you have to have a strong opinion on everything. And this is one where if it went away, I don't know how much I would notice. I'm sure I would at some point. If it stays, that's cool too. I'm sort of indifferent on this one as well.
Yeah, the Rose Bowl parade's clutching their pearls.
No, that's one of the one of the reasons we can't reform the college football playoff is because of a stupid parade.
Yeah, I know.
Now we can all agree the Rose Bowl being a little bit too much at times. Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, Paul, very good. Very well done. Thank you very much. That might get a little bit of discussion going. Thanks to Emery Winter, Jack McKenzie, Levi Caraway was here earlier. Garrett Ross, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. For Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak, the chat room, text line, our incredible sponsors. Yet another week is done, and we'll see you Monday at 3. Good night, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.